the one with George Lucas and
We are live.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, we are live.
Get that link.
There is
out.
Nothing wrong with your TV set.
Do not adjust your set.
Yeah. Well, quite frankly, if you still have a cathode ray TV,
listen. Listen. If I've already thrown a lot of shade at the Smash community, and I guess I'm about to throw more because they're like the only people I can think of who still are big up on CRTs.
Oh no! You know who else?
Who?
People that play games with light guns.
Oh yeah, light gun shooter people.
Yeah.
Because you can't use those on
So basically, like Encino Man level people that are still stuck in fucking.
Well, okay, all right, slow it down. Because I'm the Virtua Cop guy. I grew up on friggin' old school light gun game, Virtua Cop, House of the Dead 2 on the Sega Dreamcast. All right, so slow your roll with throwing shade at light gun shooter people. We're only throwing shade at Smash players.
And possibly people that are still using like Virtual Boy or the Super Scope.
Well,
none
of those
I
people
don't
can
think anyone's
see, so they're probably not out here.
And those people clearly don't have eyesight anymore, so
okay.
So I doubt they're watching this. They might be listening to it, but
did the Saturn have any light gun games?
Yeah, Virtua Cop and
yeah, I was gonna say you just mentioned Virtua Cop.
Virtua Cop 2, and I think the first House of the Dead was also a Saturn game. I could be wrong. I know it was a Model 2 game. I'm not sure if it was a Saturn game.
I was gonna say
I'm not sure if these were ported, but I know it was Gunship New York and LA Machine Guns were both Model 2 games, so they might have gotten ported to the Saturn, but I'm not 100% sure.
All right.
That one too.
All those out there in TV land.
And that one.
What's weird is Lethal Enforcer was on Sega CD, but Lethal Enforcers 2 was on just Genesis.
Hey.
But it looks like shit too.
It's one of those. Yeah, well, they take away a lot of the color.
Yeah, I love how that's a sticking point. You know, like yeah, we had to get rid of a lot of the color palette.
Well, I mean, that's how they got. Even though I had it, you know, so I can't throw stones. But that's how they were able to get Mortal Kombat on there.
Yeah. The less said about some of these ports, the better.
Yep.
Because I mean, they really were sort of not wonky, but I can do a whole thing on that. I'm not going to do it. I'll be sitting here talking for an hour about that.
All right.
I think we should start the
broadcast because
we have already started the broadcast.
But we're going to start the actual podcast. Doesn't say off air on mine. It says we're live.
Yeah, same here.
We're definitely live.
That's weird.
Definitely live, and we're going forward with the podcast in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to NTR Radio. I'm Tom Forster Nubis.
I'm K-Gods.
And I'm VZ Mark 2.
And in my case, it's been a little while.
Yeah.
Because apparently I ended up in one of those Philadelphia experiments and disappeared.
Yep. But our crack Special Forces team of NTR Radio, Special Forces people.
Delta Force Ranger Sheriffs.
Delta Force Ranger. Where is that from?
I stole it from another podcast.
That's like
they were making fun of like ultra patriotic, you know, people, like 4th of July sort of nonsense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was making fun of those caught on tape things. Sort of like, what were those, like hard copy? You know how they'd always have those dun dun wang, you know, sort of noisy fucking bullshit things where they'd have these specials. I guess not. I guess you didn't have cable.
No idea what you're talking about.
Wait, you've never heard of hard copy?
No.
That was,
wow.
Yeah, he was like really young when that was out.
Yeah, when was that?
Early 90s.
But see, I actually thought it was in the 80s.
It might have started in the 80s.
So I either wasn't born or was a very small child.
But it works because,
and if I was concerned about TV, I was concerned about cartoons and only cartoons.
Just like this podcast and just like the 80s, which is what we're going to be covering tonight.
Hey,
listen, all I know
that's
is that,
like how I tied that in there?
Listen, all I know is that on the show, A Current Affair, if this is true, whoever has this in archive wins everything. Apparently, they did a report about Overfiend when it came over.
That sounds, in all honesty, that sounds like something more the British would do.
It's like, are your children watching these devil cartoons from the Orient? Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, plays like the
fucking
plays some infamous like Dragnet music or some shit. I almost said the A-Team, which would have made no fucking sense. Yeah, they play the A-Team, main theme when they're about to start talking about tentacle porn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
we have some interesting comments.
We can tell people how to get involved with the show live. So what you're going to do is you're going to get yourself to ntrradio.net, click on the live chat link, IRC chat link, apologies, and give yourself a nickname, hit the button, join us in the IRC channel. Alternatively, you can take your favorite IRC client, point it at irc.ryzen.net, and join us in the #SLC media channel. In addition, you can get at us on Twitter at TUnubis, at VZMK2, at Immortal_KGods, and at NTR_Radio. And as always, the email address to get involved with the show is ntrradio@gmail.com.
Yes, he's working on his announcing abilities for takeover for that Micro Machines guy.
It's that, and I'm trying to take over for the guy to do the local on the 8s and the Weather Channel. No, you're local on the 8s.
See, I would thought you were actually going to say for that fucking Storage Wars guy, the auctioneer that's just like going a million miles a minute trying to sell shit to people.
I'm trying to be one of those guys in that one YouTube video where they take cattle auctioneers and just put a rap beat behind them.
It's pretty funny, actually.
So I have a for my recap, it's going to be very interesting because I packed up my shit and moved.
He is relocated to an Arctic base. Well, in the Arctic.
Yes.
That was on purpose.
That is where Arctic bases are usually.
That was on purpose, mind you. Say hello to Superman.
But no, so I packed up. I packed up. I'm living with a couple of my bros now, and it's pretty good. I still need to put up more shelves. I have a lot more room to work with, so I can have a lot more shelves and a lot more shit.
More shelves for more stuff.
Yep.
And more room to shoot pictures of characters you don't like.
Listen, sometimes I say Aragaki has got to go. Sorry.
As for me, I haven't caught up to where it is right now, but I've done a lot of watching of the recent stuff that has been on my sort of back burner. I have finished the 7th episodes of, well, all the shows I'm watching, which is Goblin Slayer, Gridman, and Senran Kagura. I think they're at 9 and 10 right now, so I'm a little behind, but I'm getting there. All good so far. There's been an episode, I think, in each that didn't quite tickle me the entire way through, but for the most part, it's been, well, good. Life's been good so far.
Yeah, have you been enjoying Gridman so far?
It's fun. It's kind of ridiculous in some ways, of course.
Because
Yeah, especially that seventh one I just watched. I'm not going to get into the details of why it was ridiculous, but it did get really outlandish in a way that, again, it's hard to talk about without spoiling stuff. Let's just say there was a UFO involved. And like a traditional kind of looking flying around saucer, where people are just like, what the fuck is that? Goblin Slayer continues to trigger people, which is fun.
It's always good when an anime does it.
To be fair, that didn't help that places like Crunchyroll advertise it as PG.
Well, that was just them making a mistake.
It was
a big mistake that they probably shouldn't have made because they should know what they're putting on their service. But yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah. And Senran Kagura is surprisingly gotten a lot darker than I was expecting it to. I'm not sure if I like that aspect of it or not. It's one of those shows that's not really what you want from it.
Well, it depends, because Senran Kagura is real big with the fan service, but it does have an actual story.
It does, and in this newest installment, it actually shows some background on some of these characters and characters you didn't get to even see before unless you played the games.
And it's like it's not even like a tacked on story or something like Divergence Eve, where it's like
it's like tits plus story.
Weird, yeah. It's a legitimate story that actually goes along with what they're like, the kind of themes they're talking about in the actual show. Like it's the franchise has an actual point to it. It just also has titties.
Yeah, which apparently is wrong. Because I don't know if everybody else in TV land or however you want to think of it, internet land, is involved with this, but Sony of America has definitely been causing a bit of a stink about some of this stuff.
Now,
there was a thing
I could have told you several years ago that Sony is a terrible company, but nobody listened to me. And now look where we all are. So obviously the takeaway from this is that everyone should listen to Time and Force for Anubis, because
there was a bit of news about the anime too.
Yeah, I know. I guess we could sort of talk about that if you want, though.
Well, let's save that for the news, because I have actually watched plenty of shit, because during the first 4 or so days in this house, we didn't have internet. So I was playing X4 Foundation and watching a whole lot of anime.
Oh.
As you do when you don't have internet.
Yes. So I finished Kanagi. I finished Welcome to the NHK. I'm up to episode 14 of A Certain Magical Index. I'm up to episode 9 of Ino Battle. And
Ino Battle, is that the one? Yeah, that's the one with
the only Studio Trigger show I really, really, really like.
Yeah,
yes,
I have that one.
And I watched a few episodes of SDF Macross, and I also watched Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind, which
these shows is foreshadowing. See, what's great about that is if you're watching it, you can see why that was funny, because he's all wide-eyed and smirking, and smirking in a way that's how I imagine him smiling when he did the Strike Witches bit with the zero. Like just sort of like good stuff.
Yes.
If somebody wouldn't have already asked, I mean, you've already explained that you have relocated. So,
and I'm also caught up on Bunny Girl Senpai, which continues to be the only show I'm watching week to week on this season. It's just that good.
Yeah, and like I said, the 3 I'm watching, which is actually quite a few that I'm actually balancing here, which I honestly don't like doing that, because then I'm moving from show to show, and it gets to that point where it's like, okay, I don't want to scramble all this in my head.
I mean that's part of the reason why I end up dropping most of what I pick up each season and just controlling with one or two at the most.
Well, the problem, of course, is that I actually like all three of these. So,
well, don't get me wrong. I like all the shows that I picked up, but Bunny Girl Senpai is the only one that really compels me to watch it week to week, and that kind of affects the other shows to where I don't want to mess up my like where I left off on Bunny Girl Senpai by getting into another show.
Yeah.
You could.
Well, in my case, though, yeah, I mean, the three shows, I'm watching them show 1, 2, 3 like that, and then starting over on the next one, 1, 2, 3, in that sort of methodology. I'm not just like building up one, watching 4 episodes of it, and then that would be even a more terrible way to probably do it.
Well, you know what you should be adding to your watching list, Anubis?
I'm not gonna, but go ahead and tell me.
Anima Yell. Because that's my favorite show of the season.
I will take your word for it.
And the other show,
I'm not going to add it to my.
I want to
add it to my. Not this season, at least.
Best Girl's in it now. Love it. Best Girl's in fully. Love it. She's my favorite.
I was going to say I 110% believe it's your favorite show of the season.
Yeah, that's
by my Twitter thing, right?
No, I'm just pointing out that I 110% believe the show you're promoting is your favorite show of the season.
Oh, yes.
Sort of a duh, obvious kind of thing.
Well, it'd be like if I was talking about Bunny Girl Senpai, and then I could say, but it's not my favorite show of the season. It's like, well, what is your favorite show of the season? Because you're not watching it.
My other one that I
what would
really
be
like.
great there is if you actually pointed out a show that wasn't from this season.
Yeah, exactly.
I was really liking Lane.
Nah, I ain't touching that. The other one that I'm really liking is Miss Vampire Who Lives in My Neighborhood. And the last episode they did had both. It was both Halloween, and then halfway through, fast forwards to Christmas.
It's all the doo-doo holidays in between.
And
tis the season for Christmas cakes.
Wait, it gave the best question ever. Kind of that I actually haven't considered before.
Is Santa homosexual?
Is a vampire even allowed to celebrate Christmas?
Well, everyone's allowed to celebrate Christmas because...
Yeah, but a vampire. Yeah, but a vampire specifically.
It's not like a mirror where they disappear.
Everyone's allowed to celebrate Christmas because... well, okay.
But it has
I'm trying not to get in trouble with this. Everyone's allowed to celebrate the version of Christmas that is commonly promoted in... But that's commonly promoted by, like, consumer culture.
I know.
So basically 90% of the West and how they celebrate it.
As far as the other stuff, I'm feeling kind of the same way you are, K-Gods, about the other shows. I'm not watching Goblin Slayer, but I'm watching, Gridman and Senran Kagura. They're good. They're not... Are
you further than I am in those?
Yeah, well, I'm all caught up.
But okay.
I'm not. I like them, but for one, maybe I'm not as into them as like some other people are. Like some people are. I think Gridman's probably their favorite show, and it's probably going to be one of those things where I'll probably, even despite its legacy connected to the original thing, I'll probably forget about it after. Or at least it's not one of those things I think I'd want to buy figures of, even though there's going to be a deluge of.
Which I should point out, I learned not that long ago that Gridman has been picked up by Funimation.
Hey.
Oh, yeah, I already know that.
Which I'm conflicted about that.
I'm not.
Also, Senran Kagura, because they had the original.
Well, the reason I'm conflicted about it isn't because I won't buy it because they're putting it out. It's because they're notorious for kind of hit and miss with their visual quality.
That's why I'm not conflicted. Also because I'm, again, I until I see some kind of actual movement toward reconciling their problems, I'm not on board with Funimation. I'm serious about that.
Well, I'd be a hypocrite and said I'm with you because I told you I pre-ordered
not with me because we did like half of a first segment on you not being with me, so I understand you're not with me.
Like there's something very comical about that idea, like sticking your fist up in the air, like, yeah, I'm not with you. That's like, no, I'm not going to that party. Good stuff.
I will say that I won't spoil it, but I will say I'm glad that certain things in Serenkage are back to the status quo that was sorely missing that the original show had.
Okay, well, again, I still need to catch up a little bit, not a whole lot, but somewhat.
I won't say, but you'll know when you see it.
It's like the Miller test. It's like obscenity. I know it when I see it. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. See, we're getting legal. We're getting legal on here now. Gotta get the lawyer isms going on.
I think that's wait, Monday. Wait, there was one more. What do I watch on? God, my brain's turning to dust here.
So, like the average '80s kid.
I know the other thing I'm watching. Yeah, is Uzumate.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
That one specifically seems to really be ruffling the feathers of A&N.
Of course it does. What do you expect?
Not much at this point.
I will say, it's funny. It's like it has better animation and it has the more outrageous premise, but it's actually the second Doga Couple show of the season for me. Whereas Anime Yell's a little bit more of what I like.
Which would be yelling?
Would be anime cheerleaders, but yeah.
Well, it is a form of yelling, is it not?
And then the last thing I'm watching is of course the Side M short, which it's all right, you know. It's not Cinderella crack, but speaking of which,
does it come in a shoe?
No, it comes in a vial.
Well, you said Cinderella, and it's like, you know. You think about like how, you know, cracking an 8-ball or whatever it comes in a shoe.
Well, now, 4th season of Cinderella Girls Gekijo next year.
Yeah, I've got a friend specifically that's really, really big on the Cinderella, or not Cinderella Girls, just the set in general. That whole idol scene, but specifically, yeah. Idol Master, that's their jam.
Are they one of those people who has a war against the Love Live people?
Not that they purposefully have went into.
Good.
Just more like you're being pulled into it by assholes that just can't accept it. That think there actually is a war going on.
Are they red pill everyone on the Idol Master
20XX.
They're both run by the same company. You are playing into the game that it's Bandai, right? That does both of them.
Yeah, more or less.
Isn't that hilarious? That these two people are warring over something that's run by the same company, like Anaheim Electronics. Yeah, we're gonna play both sides of this war and profit all the way up.
I'm almost certain that Bandai has Love Live also. I'm almost certain. I know that Bandai Namco does Idolmaster, but I'm sure that there's some crossway into the two.
So
hey, Crunchyroll from 2016, 3 idol series meet on Bandai Namco poster. Love Live, Idolmaster, and Aikatsu. So these people can get along, but dumb people who are into idols can't get along. And I'm not saying people who are into idols are dumb. I'm saying the set of all dumb people who are also into idols are getting on board with this stupid war. Where
Bandai Namco, they're the war profiteers, right?
Yeah, they're Anaheim Electronics.
Yeah, but Anaheim Electronics makes cool stuff.
Bandai Namco makes cool stuff. Listen, you're talking to the Ace Combat guy. Right? Well, I grew up on Ace Combat I didn't actually grow up, but you know what I'm saying. Ace Combat with the Idolmaster planes. So I'm on board. I'm with you. And quite frankly, if this were an actual war, I don't see the Love Live people with jet fighters. So that's what I'm gonna say about that. But you two sides are playing into the same war profiteer business, and it's kind of dumb. Kind of dumb to look at from the outside.
Okay. I know something else I could talk about before we go to break.
Before we go to news.
Before we go to. Well, all right.
We got news.
Before that, I want to tell you something else that I saw. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Go ahead.
All right. So yesterday I was watching a stream of it was the 6th live show for Idolmaster Cinderella Girls, where it's the voice actors performing on stage in Japan. That happened a week ago, but someone was streaming it.
I don't have my lights with me.
That was so good. That was so good.
I don't know, for some reason, because I know I will at some point find myself at one of these concerts, and I know I will be super hyped when I get there. But like just sitting here, I can only think of I can't really think of any concert I would go to other than that holographic Hatsune Miku concert.
Mm.
But that was also my position before I discovered that the Gundam Thunderbolt composer would be performing at Anime NYC last year. So before then, I thought there were only 2 concerts that I ever wanted to go to, and that was the Hatsune Miku concert and the Jam Project concert. Then I discovered there were 3. So I might discover there are more. Which is why I own one of those light sticks.
There are a lot of light sticks there.
Oh, I guarantee you, a lot of all the pilots flying over there were very, very confused.
Yeah.
Are they telling us to come in? What's going on?
Air traffic control. We've got, speaking of air traffic control, since we'll be talking about the 80s, there's a reference there too.
Uh-oh.
I don't remember if that happened in the first half or the later, though. I can't remember. So stay tuned.
Meanwhile, let's news.
Let's news.
Working to restore power.
All right, so I don't really have a concrete link for what's going on here, but the long and short of it is Crunchyroll and a few other legal streaming services were found to have edited the latest episode 10 of Sword Art Online Alicization.
Yes, this is one of those things that you're going to be seeing passed around if you haven't yet.
Yes. And there are multiple sides. Yeah, there are multiple sides to this story, and depending on who you're listening to, you're gonna get a different version.
Oh.
The version.
So it means somebody's full of crap.
It means somebody's lying to you. So the version that I have seen makes the most sense as true is that the scene is censored by default. What Crunchyroll did was go on to further edit it to make it to censor it further.
Censoring the censorship, or if you will.
Censoring already censored.
Okay, yeah. Tell me what was censored specifically.
There is and I have no context for this, so
bear that in mind.
Bear that in mind. There's what looks to be a rape scene or an almost rape scene.
Oh,
that
here
goes
we
on in
go.
episode 10. And
Uh,
so there, and it was very violent and whatnot. And what Crunchyroll did was further, because of course the actual scene doesn't actually show anything, and there is some censorship going on there, and it's the same kind of censorship you get with like the broadcast of Strike Witches. Not to compare the two, but it's the same kind of censorship you get, which is basically an advertisement for you to buy the DVD or buy the Blu-ray.
right.
And what Crunchyroll did was they cut and edited some scenes, so some scenes are zoomed in, so you're not seeing some of the more violent parts.
Yeah, it looks like it was sort of cropped and then just sort of
and
zoomed
then
in on that crop.
Some cuts are longer, so it would cut. The normal one would cut to a violent scene and then cut to a character's reaction.
Right.
The Crunchyroll version and these other streaming services would instead skip the violent scene, but have that cut of the character's reaction elongated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're just gonna call it the second glop scene.
Can we not call it the second glop scene?
No. That is purely a joke. That is not canonical or even anything that's ever been referenced there. But no, seriously though, it's weird in the sense that it was already sort of censored, like you said.
Yes.
And it's like, well, it's not censored enough. We're gonna have to kind of do some of our, old school DBZ magic kind of stuff going on here.
It was,
which is what that reminds me of, because didn't like who had that originally? Was it Saban?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah, and they had like their digital paint teams and all these people just on overtime, So, I mean, granted, this isn't one of those. This is probably a simple, like you said, crop and zoom in and kind of manipulate that sort of through that way, rather.
Yeah, they cut some scenes, elongated some other scenes, zoomed in on certain scenes as well.
Yeah, and again, lots of people are losing their shit over this.
Yeah, so going into the IRC right now is a tweet from Moetron replying to a now deleted tweet, which between the time we were setting up to record and now is a new development that is now deleted, but it was a tweet by Jacob Chapman of ANN talking about how, if you're listening to like angry dudes on Twitter talking about the censorship, that it was already censored and that they're getting mad about nothing, which is the gist of what Jacob was saying. And Moetron, which is an anime news site for those who don't know what Moetron is.
Not only is it a news site, but it's sort of almost an aggregate in general.
Yeah.
Of picking up sort of stuff that's going on.
Moetron responds, "This is wrong. There is no quote unquote uncut version. Tokyo MX aired a version that was censored already. I would know since I saw it live as it aired. ATX aired the same version 2 days later." And that's in response to Jacob Chapman saying that the uncensored version people are talking about, they were talking about the regular version that was on regular TV was on ATX. So North America edited an episode that was already censored to begin with. Continuing. This is from the original TV broadcast in Japan that aired on both Tokyo MX and ATX. It's censored. There is no uncut. Buy the Blu-rays if you want to see that. And continuing, so they basically censored an already censored episode by turning the screen black and zooming in. So
and then there's more to it. There's some back and forth, and
yeah, there's some back and forth, some further discussion. But the gist of it is that, and to be clear, we don't know if this is actually Crunchyroll doing what Crunchyroll is being accused of doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks that way, and it's bad. It's bad either way.
Like you like to say, whether it is or is not, the appearance of it being that way is still bad.
Yes.
Well, sure it is, because the layman can't tell the difference anyway.
Exactly. And what's really interesting, because I've seen this floated around as well, and it quite honestly makes just as much sense as anything else going on, is that Aniplex gave Crunchyroll that version to air.
That's the one I heard.
And that Crunchyroll wasn't responsible for those edits themselves. And realistically, both make just as much sense.
Yeah.
Because we know Crunchyroll has in the past been
less than truthful behavior.
For censorship.
Mm-hmm.
However, and here we get into conspiracy theory land.
Which is always fun.
I think I know where this is going.
Who owns Aniplex?
Sony.
Bingo. Who are gamers having problems with now with regards to censorship and with regards to them censoring things specifically for a US market? Sony. Bingo.
Well, here's the
thing.
Even...
if we're in conspiracy theory land, maybe this is part of Sony's new direction. I don't necessarily believe that, but it's an interesting thought experiment, and it gives them plausible deniability.
But you know,
they're not the ones
Sony's
serving it up.
gaming division is now in California.
Oh, well, okay, so they were terrible before, and now they're poised to be even more terrible.
Well, and here's the other thing.
Maybe if everyone had listened to me back in 2009, we wouldn't have this problem.
Wait, here's the other aspect. Regardless of where it's released, even if it's released in Japan, like the game, like those games, like let's take a Seren Kagura, it's still going to be censored. That's why people are pissed.
Well, unless you
get
it on Steam, unless you get it on the Nintendo Switch of all consoles.
Which of all things, Nintendo is the one here that's not doing it.
It's like I'm living in Bizarro land where I'm at.
Because in the 90s
now, because they some shit right.
Which my girlfriend always points out that this decade is pretty much the 90s, the sequel, but with worse music in most cases. And pointing out that a lot of these censorship tactics and stuff are pretty much very reminiscent of that time period. And the same stuff, too. Anime-related games.
That I can see how it can appear that way.
Well, but there was jokes about how the Ninja Turtles and Mortal Kombat were popular and stuff again, tying into that whole 90s thing.
Well, like, I can see how it can appear that way, but at the same time, we're now getting, like, we know every time a thing has been censored now. Just because there's just the infrastructure for that. Like,
right. Well, in the 90s, that wasn't really. The 90s, that wasn't really palpable to just automatically know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
here's the
regardless of whether or not we're actually getting more censored content like that 90s paradigm, it appears that way because we hear about everything. Like, for instance, I learned not too long ago that Ace Combat 4 was censored for the US release. Now, what, the Jet Fighter game? What possibly could, like, between Japan and the US, what possibly could you see in the Jet Fighter game that's too offensive for US audiences? That's too offensive for the nation that manufactured a lot of these jet fighters. But it turned out that there were some scenes where, like, there was a child holding a gun to an adult, and that was kind of like they darkened that area of the screen in the US release. And it was real minor stuff, but you would have never found out about that if not for this, and quite frankly, if not for this culture that we have
That's
in
kind
gaming
of,
around censorship right now.
and one of the big things out there, I'm just going to go ahead and pimp them for just because I think they do something good, and that's Censored Gaming as a channel.
That was where I found out about Ace Combat 4 censorship.
They're a really good channel. I support what they do wholeheartedly. And it's just, yeah, these sort of things are these mechanisms, if you like, sort of keep us in the loop on this stuff, because you can't be everywhere. You can't see every release and whatnot. But if you have people that are sort of doing the legwork for you for whatever reason or however they're doing it in some cases.
Well, they're keeping their ear to the ground.
So,
But it's sort of like a almost a decentralized sort of process that this stuff kind of gathers.
I was gonna say, I think we should. The point of actually worrying would be if the U.S. release for the Sword Art Online is censored as well, which I doubt it'll be. But I think that would be actual.
It depends on who is responsible for the actual censorship. If it was Crunchyroll responsible for the actual censorship, then we don't have anything to worry about, because
they're
not responsible for the physical release of the show.
No.
It was Aniplex themselves that gave Crunchyroll that cut to air on their platform. Then it's a toss up, because
it's a crapshoot.
It's one of two. That's one of two plays they're making. Either one,
they're making the same as their Japanese release. So
do we know that? Do we and moreover, do we know that's going to be the case for this particular thing? Because if we're going off the notion that that cut was provided by Aniplex to Crunchyroll to air, then it's a complete toss-up, because they're making one of two plays. Either one, they're making the same play that they make in Japan, where it's buy the Blu-ray if you want the whole thing, or two, they're making a play where they're making a play where their frame is this stuff isn't suitable for a U.S. audience.
Got to get with Sony the woke.
We're not going to air it, and we're not going to put it out on disc. One of two plays, and the paradigm has been, okay, we're gonna make the same release for the U.S. and Japan. They could change that at any time, though. Nothing's saying they have to do that all the time. Nothing's saying every single release has to be the same as in the U.S. and Japan. There's literally there's no rule saying that. And if their play is the latter, where they're trying to differentiate between what the US sees and what Japan sees, and it could be a discussion on why they might want to make that play, and there's a myriad of reasons why they could want to do that. But if that's their play, then it just stands to reason that they would start putting out different releases for different territories. Now with Blu-ray, there's an issue, because US and Japan share the same region for Blu-ray. So you can easily just import. You're probably not going to have the subtitles. They're probably going to do it where the English subs are only on the release meant for US. But that's if that's their play, then I don't see any reason why they would continue the paradigm of putting the same thing out in all regions. There's no reason to do that. If their play is, we're going to separate the US and Japan, which is a dumb play, but companies make dumb moves all the time, especially Sony.
And is that all we have with the news, or do you have anything else you want to?
That's all we got for the news. That's all I have, at least.
Alrighty. So with that, we should probably head for a break before Anubis blows up.
We're gonna move on to the break. Keep it right here on NTR Radio. That button and then that button.
He's got to get his coffee.
I was interrupting too much.
What are we gonna play?
Reminded me specifically of those shows, like you know how in the morning they have things like Fox and Friends and crap like that, where they're all just kind of sitting there with morning lattes or some shit, and it's just like, hey, how's it going tonight? Well, they don't particularly talk like that, but
the McLaughlin group of anime. Issue 1, Lollies.
I like the fact that people are blaming each other for this. Like, oh, they did it. No, they did it. Like passing around a hot potato.
I mean, if you're Sony, you have plausible deniability because unless people really investigate, no one's going to blame you for it. If you're Sony and you're also paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a really awkward pause there because I thought you were going to keep talking or VZ was going to jump in.
I thought someone else was going to jump in because I was
monopolizing. It's like we're all three sitting there with the fingers pointed out like, okay, you.
Mexican standoff.
Yeah, exactly. Like somebody's got to say something. Who will draw first blood?
Man, I need to play Sonic CD again.
And I completely forgot to make the bit. Oh no, I didn't. I'll just do it when we kick back into the next segment. It'll fit more in with it anyway. That's what we were talking about before we started with the Touchstone references.
Apparently they're saying the Bumblebee movie's good.
There's a Bumblebee movie?
Yeah, I was just thinking that too.
Yeah, it's not directed by Michael Bay. That's probably why it's. I'm not gonna go see it. I'll just wait for it to come on TV because I don't feel like going out. Gotta be better than the one from last year. That was all. that was special kind of bad.
So Kevin Hart isn't hosting the Oscars. Dun dun dun.
I don't know who that is.
Thank you, VZ. Because I know who Kevin Hart is, but I can't say that. I know, I'd like to say that, but I do know who Kevin Hart is.
If he said Kevin Smith, yes, I know who Kevin Smith is. I don't know who Kevin.
See, I'd like to.
Yeah, but
I'd like to say I don't know who Kevin Smith is.
Yeah, but the thing is, I bet you wouldn't recognize him on the street now that he's lost so much weight.
I don't know.
Granted, in his case, he had to where he was going to die. I mean, it's like some sort of looking into the future for movie Bob level shit.
Well, apparently the set of the 9th Star Wars movie brought him to tears.
Who?
Kevin Smith.
I thought you were going to say movie Bob. I was going to say but he cries about everything.
Bob to the set of a Star Wars movie.
He would eat it.
He has no influence on the film. Despite what he wishes, he has absolutely no power.
He's a fat idiot in a basement somewhere. I mean, really, that really is who he is. Doesn't he have a blue check mark though?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
The whole check mark thing doesn't. It's like whoever.
Well, no, it would mean he's recognized.
Oh, I know that. I know what it means. Just saying it's yeah. thus ensuring that NTR Radio will never get a blue check.
I don't want a fucking blue check.
Seriously.
If you get a blue check, you lose.
Yeah. Now they're gonna give us one just because we said that.
Oh yeah. Hey, that's how we get Twitter verified. Say you don't want it, and say like that's the worst thing that could possibly happen
so
to
it's
you.
like
Twitter. This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to NCR Radio is giving us Twitter verification.
so it's like in the movie Shawshank Redemption when I don't know if you ever saw that.
Oh, I have.
What's his name?
If you don't know his name, say who plays him.
Is it Andy Dufresne or is it
Red?
Yeah, okay. Morgan Freeman's character.
Yeah, Morgan
Freeman.
Why did my brain just not working tonight? Yeah, Morgan Freeman. He was like every time he was like the chance to like
parole
review, and each
and
time
he basically tells him to get bent.
Well, no. For the first time, he's like, I've changed my ways, and you know, I that was me, and
bam.
Yeah, no. Yeah, originally, parole.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing the stamp, like nope.
But then at the end, he's like,
that's what I'm saying. He tells him to basically get bent.
Yeah.
Am I rehabilitated? I don't really fucking care at this point.
Yeah, that's just a word. And then it's like,
okay.
That's what we wanted to hear.
Basically, you have successfully broken me.
All right, let's hit up the second segment.
Okay, we're all gonna pass out our mocha and.
Fucking
you sounded like Quagmire there a bit.
Yeah, you did.
Giggity.
We were just passing that.
Yeah. You know, everybody has feet.
The Notebook. Where did I put the Notebook?
What? Am I the only person who thinks the movie is gonna start screaming copyright about that? Where did I put the Notebook? No, not the movie.
So I was forgetting something.
Called Kentucky Fried the movie. I don't know why it's called that. This is the.
He's got a handy dandy notebook.
No, I don't, because I don't know where it is.
Well, it doesn't mean you don't have it. It just means you can't find it.
That's not the Notebook.
I'll be right back, and then we'll.
Okie dokie.
Good, because I need to find this damn notebook.
He's got the Mike Tyson punch-out codes in it.
This will be the Notebook for now.
And now VZ has disappeared.
Oh, good, because I need to write the number down.
It's 867-5309. I'm still going to use that trick next time I have to.
867-530.
Note to all the kids out there listening to this show. First off, you shouldn't be, but if you are, that's what you do when they ask you for a phone number or an email account.
Yeah, well, it's not going to work for an email account.
Obviously not, but well, yeah, but they usually ask for one or the other. But, like if you deny the email, it's like, oh, can we get a phone number?
I usually get the phone number right off the bat, just because I think it's easier than an email account. Is that T Or B, like, no, okay. All right. 867-5309.
Yeah. And the thing is if you do it, you gotta be completely serious about it. You can't laugh.
You gotta say it exactly like that. 867-5309.
Yeah. Don't say 09 because that gives it away too easily.
Don't have any kind of tonality to it. Don't have any sort of cadence. Just regular ass phone cadence. 867-5309.
Yeah. You'll be. It depends on who it is. Like the older they are, the more likely they are to catch it. Obviously, yeah. I mean, if they're like a millennial or something, the chances of them catching it are just a toss up.
Yeah. Also, don't mention Jenny.
Oh yeah. Well, come on.
VZ, unmute yourself.
Thank you.
While you were gone, we were kind of poking fun at that really terrible Tommy Two-Ton song.
Oh.
867-5309. Yeah, but it's a great for a number to just whip out to use when somebody wants a bullshit phone number.
Well, no, because this I've never tried this, so take it with a grain of salt. But a trick I learned reading stuff on the internet is that if you're at a place where you don't have like the loyalty card, but you would still like you would still like whatever perks you get on whatever purchase you're doing, give them 867-5309 because chances are it will already be in their system. Now that's just something I read on the internet.
There's always one in some locale.
Yeah, give them your area code that you're in, and then 867-5309.
Yeah, it's kind of like Elm Street. Like every town damn near has one.
All right, are we all ready?
We are all ready.
We are all ready.
In 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to NTR Radio.
This time, we're going to be basically exploring the first half of the 80s. And the reason why is because the birth of the OVA sort of makes it a big deal. And it sort of splits it in two in a way because it happens conveniently right toward the middle of it.
Yeah.
And we think, now we're not probably going to do this in the future, just the 80s because of this reason. But
it's a pretty significant change that rings throughout the entire history of anime from that point on.
Right. Yeah. And even things like ONAs aren't nearly as much of a shift. So
right.
No.
But before we get,
I'll get to my specialty in this when I talk about like how the big boom in you'll see that the big boom in robot shows that suddenly goes down, but we see a new paradigm boom happen.
Well, before we get too far into it, though, the 80s were kind of interesting because, or at least the part we're going to be talking, which is 80 through 84, and including 80 and 84.
Yes.
Not just in between. But some interesting things happened here worldwide. Not necessarily anime related, but kind of on the periphery and interesting. First off, we'll start with the thing that is sort of relevant here. Pac-Man came out. That's kind of fun.
Waka Waka.
Waka Waka. Okay, Fozzie.
That's the sound Pac-Man makes when he's eating the things.
Okay. In terms of computers, the IBM PC, that's kind of a big deal. And Steve Jobs with Macintosh.
Hey.
All like I said, sort of on the periphery. I mean, you can see where it ties in because of technology. Right. On the world stage, we had the AIDS epidemic was kind of scaring the shit out of the world.
Yep.
Mount St. Helens erupts.
Hey.
That was fun. A couple of high-profile assassination attempts in the form of Ronald Reagan and John Paul II.
Yep.
There were a few more, but there were a few others, but I think those are the most notable.
Also a very close call, Cold War-wise.
Yeah.
If you knew what happened.
Not as bad as the not quite as severe as the Cuban Missile Crisis, but
No, but there was one pretty. There was another one that.
Yeah.
And it just like, basically the Russians thought that we were launching.
Right, like it was like a malfunction or whatever.
Right.
And fortunately, there was somebody on that end of the thing that just didn't go, push the button. You know, sort of like a Ren and Stimpy, you know, kind of, what does this button do? I'm going to push it anyway. One quick other thing. Argentina Argentina invaded the Falklands, which caused kind of a stir. Everybody had an opinion about that, one way or the other. And here at home in the United States, a rescue attempt for hostages in Tehran was gloriously failure. And one of our embassies in Beirut was bombed. Good times. Not for them. Beyond that, Cold War is still going on, and the Japanese economy is starting to take off, and pop music is more insipid than usual. But you can't stop singing it anyway. So there you have it. Any 80s things you guys want to sort of tack on there?
I wasn't born yet.
I was, so that means, of course, this period is the best period.
And me.
I can't even keep a straight face saying that. And I like how he can't either. See, that's why you got to watch the live stream of this occasionally, because only the audio there will not do. Anyway, VZ was also born during this period. I'm surprised you didn't try to wave or something.
No, I'm trying to think of a funny retort, but I can't. Just that, it's one of those things where sometimes I wish I was born earlier so I could have appreciated as
it was kind of occurring.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have though, because you were in the U.S.
No, even in the U.S. because there was certain things going on, at least from like a marketing perspective, that I was able to taste a little bit, but not enough to really. Oh yeah, like if get the full. Put it this way. Okay, well this is past our show list, but by 86,
we'll get there. That's next episode. That's the next.
I know that, but all right, then I'll save it for next year then.
Yeah, please. Right. Enough of that.
Yeah. All right. I think we should just get started with shows.
Let's get started. 1980.
Okay. We're gonna basically go through TV series and then movies, and then when the OVA becomes relevant, we'll stick them in there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of. Okay. So on my list, I think we ought to start with the fact that there was an Astro Boy.
I have that on my list too.
These ones are in color, of course.
And I actually watched an episode of that.
It ran for, I think, 52 episodes. And I'd have to look. I didn't actually jot that down. I should have, but I didn't.
I did. No, I think you're right. But it was, yeah, I actually watched an episode. It also was directed by a guy that will become very known for sgoing to stuff.
Okay, yeah, okay. I honestly...
We'll get to later on which one.
Right. There's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. This one, I think, was sometimes referred to, it says New Mighty Atom. That's part of my notes.
By the way, I don't know if the entire show was like this, but certainly that first episode, imagine theatrical movie quality animation, but in a TV series.
Yeah, which you do see some of that in the 80s, I think partially because of the booming economy really kicking off.
I think that, but also because this was like a pedigree thing. Like
exactly.
But yeah, Tezuka did not direct this one.
No, and it's generally considered to be a remake, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is. Each series is
except it's in color, so
yeah,
compared to the previous,
is essentially a remake.
Right. And there you have it.
They all tell the same origin story.
I'll just be straight. I've only seen the parts of the original one. I've not seen this one.
Well,
and I don't believe anybody has this version of it or anything either. Do they? I mean, it's been shown on TV by all kinds of things, but
if you're talking about like licensed on DVD,
yeah, that's what I.
No, I don't think it has like the original.
Nah, I didn't think so. But we also got to kind of speed up here. We also had one that we've already kind of covered, a sequel, Ashita no Joe. This one actually, there was actually a movie as well, I believe, that came out this time that Discotek has, but the TV series just called Ashita no Joe 2, I guess. Ran for 47 episodes. More of it. Again, did not see this. I honestly I didn't really follow up on this beyond the original one. I mean, there's a bunch more of it in the sense that there's some films.
Right.
And again, I don't think this actual series, though, is licensed by anybody. The films, I believe, some of the films are by Discotek or something like that. My notes are slightly scattered.
A few of the films.
Yeah. My notes are a little scattered. I apologize for that. But basically, yeah. Now, for other things, again, since we're going on sequels here, Space Battleship Yamato the Third or 3. Again, more of that.
More Battleship Yamato.
Right, which was doing very well financially, if I'm not mistaken, by this point. Again, Leiji Matsumoto, who's very, very busy in this period that we're going to be talking about. Like, a lot of his material starts to get adapted or starts blending in with other stuff. Stuff? What the fuck was that? Stuff. Anyway, big name. I don't think anybody has this, though.
That wouldn't surprise me if nobody has it.
Right, because then you got to deal with all the Star Blazers shit.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of legal entanglements. That's gonna be something you're gonna really see with a lot of these older '80s shows, because a lot of them were chopped up and made into other shows.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. Unfortunately, due to the way these things were marketed, they tried their hardest to kind of excise a lot of the Japanese-ness from it, all the way down to like the English names they gave a lot of people.
Yeah.
Also, when these shows were licensed out to like here,
they
were totally like, given the whole thing. They weren't thinking about the future of
exactly.
No, not even kind of.
Which turned out, which resulted in a lot of ongoing legal battles, especially for one property in particular.
That will show up a little bit later.
Yeah, 3 properties in particular.
That will show up not only a little bit later, but we've covered it pretty extensively.
Oh yeah, we had an entire episode about this thing.
Yes. Okay.
Not happy about it, but we did.
Yeah.
I'm happy about the episode. I'm not happy that we had to do that.
The episode, yeah. So to continue on, here's an interesting one. Tetsuojin 28 Go.
That just got licensed by Discotek.
Yeah, this one actually did air on Sci-Fi. It's in my notes. Didn't it come out here as The New Adventures of Gigantor or something like that?
Yes, it did.
Yeah. Again, I've got some notes here. They're kind of sloppy, I'll admit.
I like that design.
Yeah. I mean, nothing wrong with it. And again, there's a lot of that, the name alterations and things like that.
Yep.
Most of these did not come over straight in terms of name. Even if it's sort of similar, it's still usually altered somehow.
Yeah.
This one ran for 51 episodes. You said that Discotek got this?
Yes.
They must have just recently then.
Yeah.
Because like this thing doesn't even show that.
It was just this week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, very, very recent then. Again, this was Gigantor and Gigantor related stuff. I'm sure somebody has seen this at some point. It's made its way onto our television places numerous times. I mean, the original one, I believe, was even on Adult Swim at some point.
Yes, it was.
Yes, yes. Because
I caught parts of it way back when, but or whatever.
Yeah, I caught parts of it, and it wasn't my thing then. And it
it didn't jump out to me.
But I did watch a few things, and let me tell you, I was laughing hysterically.
Like a lot of the marketing around Gigantor on Adult Swim was around the fact that it was the first mecha anime.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, we got the first mecha anime. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and like I'm shitting on it, but it is a legitimate piece of history. And like, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just not my thing. And the marketing for it over here was questionable.
Yeah, I mean, first off, most people don't usually consider that one the very first one. I mean, some people do, but that's one of those debate things that keeps floating around.
It depends on whether or not you consider remote controlled robots mecha.
I was thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really I don't want to split hairs, but sometimes things like that are debatable amongst.
I think it's kind of a dumb debate. I think it's kind of a dumb debate, quite frankly, because then I think it was like Baldur Force or Baldur Sky, BLDR. It's the show I watched like one episode of on Hulu way back in the day, and those things are piloted remotely, but like the pilot is sitting in like a mech cockpit type apparatus at a base, and they're piloting it partially through their mind. So if we're gonna argue that remote control mecha aren't mecha, then we're talking about Baldur Sky or Baldur Force or Baldur whatever the fuck isn't mecha. And that's not an argument I'm ready to make, partially because I don't care, partially because and here's where we get to the real. Then the first Virtualon isn't mecha, because the whole premise of that is you're remote controlling the mech from the arcade cabinet. So and you're not gonna. There's no world in which you're gonna roll up to me and have me tell you that Virtualon isn't mecha, because that'd be a terrible world.
Okay, now the next one is a very big title. Tomino, after success of Gundam, has another big one under his belt here.
Yep.
Well, marginal success because.
Well, yeah.
Well, I'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah.
Space Runaway Ideon. Now, what's the biggest thing about this, besides the fact that it's Tomino and Sunrise, is that it would largely be an inspiration for another big title.
Yes.
Showing up, which won't be for a couple episodes, but we'll get to that. This ran for about 39 episodes and made 2 movies, which we'll come back to those in a minute. But the big influence here will end up being, or what it will largely influence, is Evangelion. You'll if you watch it, you'll be able to spot it, like those Ava-isms, or maybe we should call them Ideon-isms.
Yeah.
And Sentai Filmworks, under their other label, Made in Japan, is gonna have the high definition version.
Yeah, this one just recently got picked up too, if I'm not mistaken.
I will get that at some point.
I actually saw you posting like the collection thing earlier.
Yes.
on your social on Twitter there.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, let me retweet.
Yeah. This. And again, more than anything else, some of the designs and whatnot, and kind of the strangeness, for lack of a better word.
Well, here's what happened, because they were going to release it standard definition on Blu-ray, but there was a bit of, like, people were complaining about that. It was, Japan has a Blu-ray version, and, if by doing that, you're probably only encouraging piracy. So they took off that release, and they're bringing out this release, which is the full, and not only does it have the series, it has the movies on there, too.
Which is just more bang for your buck at that point.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Even though one of them's a recap, but
well, so is Death and Rebirth from Death and Rebirth. Come on, which is another illusion.
Foreshadowing.
That's where he got that aspect from too.
Yeah.
Right, anything else from 1980? Because
other than movies, which I do have a few of those that are worth just lightly kind of going over. One of the movies is Be Forever Yamato.
Right.
Yeah. Which is basically the third theatrical film. The theatrical movies aren't quite the same as the series. They're not just 1-to-1, best ofs or whatever, or what do you call it? Compilation movies, really. They operate slightly different. As unsurprising if you know anything about Leiji Matsumoto. In fact, trying to tie all of it together sometimes is a real bitch. Can you imagine one of those?
I'm pretty sure he actually doesn't want you to tie it all together.
Like, can you imagine having one of those fucking tree diagrams trying to, like, you need a whole thing of fucking stadium prints to try to, okay, this is over here.
It ended up looking like a serial killer chart. We got like push pins with yarn connecting all the little things.
Or one of those like World War II Europe maps where you got all the like army men and shit. Where
you got tiny little like pewter risk figurines and you're pushing them around.
yeah, exactly. You got like the freaking crap table pushers. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's
trying
hilarious.
to figure out, trying to put some method to Leiji Matsumoto's madness.
And a couple other ones. There's a movie for 3,000 Leagues in Search of Mother and Cyborg 009 movie. Again, I'm just lightly mentioning those. And there's another one called Toward the Terra, which for some reason jumped out.
I keep hearing about Toward the Terra, but I know nothing about it. I know it's
I know very little about it.
It was done by a prominent shoujo group, but shoujo sci-fi.
So, does anybody else have any stuff from 80 they want to cover, or can we move along?
I was going to talk about God Sigma, but
oh yeah, well, go ahead then.
All right, well, God Sigma was a because every year, like for a while, Toei was doing like their yearly robot show.
Yeah, I mean,
with allude to things, and that was the show of that year. I've seen like bits and pieces. I actually have a toy of the not a combining one. That I wish though, but that the thing was it's 3 robots combined to a bigger one.
Right.
That one never came out here, the show at least. Other ones came, which will allude to the year after. All right, I think that's it.
Okay.
1981.
1981. This year came up with some interesting stuff that I guess if you're really interested in digging in the past of some animators and creators, there's some real interesting stuff here because you have like Dr. Slump.
Yeah.
Which is one of those Akira Toriyama deals.
Yep.
I believe it was put out by obviously it was a manga first. It ran in a weekly Shoujin Jump. But as a TV series, it ran from 81 to 86.
Yep.
So the entire time of this episode so the entire time of this episode, what we're covering, and starting a little bit into the next one, at least of this series, it ran for 243 episodes. It was Toei, of course. Unsurprisingly here. And there's quite a few movies that came out of this too. We're not going to go over every one of them. I think that would be a little ridiculous.
Yeah. And
probably redundant. But if you like Akira Toriyama, this is definitely a unique part of his history because it occurs before like DBZ, of course. And also even before Dragon Quest, which is a video game franchise that he does pretty much most, if not all, the art for.
Yep.
And also and Chrono Trigger as well. And you can tell because if you look at him, it's like, oh, this character looks like insert DBZ character here.
Yeah, exactly.
They look like an XB of some kind, although they actually predate them in this case. Whereas in Chrono Trigger or some of the later Dragon Quest stuff, you could think, oh, this is clearly like a Piccolo type prototype, or what's the word I want to use here? Not prototype, but archetype. Archetype. Thank you. For some reason, I couldn't get that one out. But again, I honestly, this is one of those shows that I don't think we've ever gotten. Nor do I think it ever aired here, did it?
Not to my knowledge.
No. Nobody even has licensed that.
Right, which you think they would, given how popular a lot of his stuff actually is.
Yeah.
It is, but the thing about Toriyama is people like the more serious aspects.
Right, and this is more comedic even than some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it has anthropomorphic poo, which is actually a thing. It is a thing in now, weirdly enough.
Shit!
Oh, that was just the perfect idea. Not only that, but yeah, that's funny.
I heard anthropomorphic poo, and I'm like, I know I have a drop in for this. I know it.
But yeah, as you can tell, that ran for a long time. Be 5 strong years. Okay, another big one is, and this will come up again a little bit later. Beast King Go Lion.
Yeah, boy.
I have this one, and of course I've seen it, and it's very special to me because the version we ended up getting of it, which this is going to tie in a little later,
yep,
was technically the first thing anime I ever saw. Now, Beast King Go Lion is Toei Animation. It ran for 52 episodes. It's considered mecha, of course.
Yep.
More super robot-y.
Yeah.
But
very super robot-y.
Yeah.
Super robot-y. Yeah.
Now, we ended up getting this a couple years later as Voltron, Defender of the Universe. We'll talk about that a little later, yes, because some other things ended. Again, we mentioned this already, but some other shows get kind of pulled into it.
Yeah, this is one of those shows we're talking about that's
carved up, new name schemes.
Yeah, spliced together, given new naming schemes, more American naming schemes, and
now
more or less made into a Frankenstein to release in America.
When this actually is available here, and it's from Media Blasters, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I know Media Blasters.
Which means it's probably a pain in the butt to get. No, it's already released, so you can probably still get it pretty easily. I mean, the thing with Media Blasters releases is if it's scheduled to be released is usually where the problems show up. As indicated by the fact that when this podcast originally started, we were all looking forward to Ladies versus Butlers, and just recently, relatively, we actually finally got it.
Yeah.
This is again big robots. The way they sort of one of the other interesting things that was changed was besides the names was how much darker the show actually is.
Yeah.
Like, put it this way, on mine it's rated 16 up compared to like PG V-chip shit, you know?
Yeah, but the best part is in Japan it's still a kids show.
Yeah. Even though it has like genocide, rape, and all kinds of other stuff in it.
Cannibalism.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cannibalism.
The rape is implied. It's not shown or anything.
Oh yeah, that.
But the point is it's referenced. Another real important one that came out is Urusei Yatsura.
Yes.
Oh, that's another long runner.
Yeah, very much. Like you said, a long runner. It's ran for 195 episodes. Also 5 years. Close to 5 years.
And movies and OVA.
Right, and we'll cover some of those a little bit because they're a little important there. This stuff is available. It's Animego, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or they at least they did have it. It's I don't think they still do.
No.
It's one of those ones that I could easily see Discotech picking up.
But something else of theirs got put onto as a Blu-ray thing. We won't talk about that right now.
Okay. This came out This one's interesting from a manga perspective because this is one of those big Rumiko Takahashi titles.
Yeah.
And Viz, I think, put all of this out, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And at least in our quarters. It's also where a lot of tropes actually come from. A lot of your
harem.
Exactly.
A lot of stuff you see a lot in romance anime.
Right, you'll see that it
Specifically
either
romance comedies.
You'll see it originated here, like, which might make it seem sort of passe or tame or whatever. But you got to realize that no, it actually came from here.
Yeah, well, this was the originator, and along the way, a lot of these tropes and conventions were changed this way or that by other pivotal series, but this is where a lot of them originate.
Mm-hmm. It's also where one of the early anime crushes really started to manifest in the form of Lum.
Yeah.
She was one of those early sort of pinup girls, if you will.
Wildly popular.
Yeah.
But there was no more in the 80s, more than
well, this show alone gives that the boot.
It's the myth of Proto Moe.
So I got another show.
Mm-hmm.
I got a show on my list, and this is something that I'm kind of half and half on, for various reasons. God Mars.
That actually is listed on my
Yeah, God Mars is another combining robot show.
Well, the official long name is Six God Combination God Mars. Yeah.
Yes. This one was actually quite popular in Japan, I heard, because it got extended to like 64 episodes or something.
I should also point out that you can get this one.
Yes.
Discotheque has this one.
Yes, they just put.
So if you're interested in that, 64 episodes, I'm sure it's reasonably priced.
And the movie and OVA that they did with that.
Oh, did that come with it as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's the thing. It's a show that I'm kind of half and half on because I actually watched I used to have the Chinese like the Hong Kong bootleg version.
Oh, no, like where they have the bright yellow subs that are terrible looking.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't discover the subs until the very end, and I didn't feel like rewatching it.
Okay, yeah.
But here's the thing. I like the aesthetics. I love the opening. Love that opening. The thing is, it's just the couple episodes. It's really cool, but then it gets kind of boring. It just gets kind of boring, and then there's a part in the show where you can tell that they kind of felt like, okay, we need to extend this. So there's a part in the show where it's like space pirates or something that kind of grinds the show even further to a halt. The main character's father. See, what's interesting is instead of each robot being piloted by someone, only the main one is.
Mm-hmm.
The rest are all automated.
Right.
So, the main character's father is really the bad guy.
Which
and he looks like. Yeah, he looks like Darth Vader as well. I'm not. No. This is no subtlety.
Right.
Yeah, you're gonna find a lot of the Star Wars.
Right. Well, Star Wars is still a pretty new title at this point.
Right.
So you got to realize it being popular worldwide is not a surprise.
Oh, well, believe me. Wait till I get it a few years later.
Oh, I'm sure you'll dig up something.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I got one more TV series we haven't really covered yet.
Yes.
And it kind of ties into something we've already discussed. Queen Millennia.
Oh.
This is another Leiji Matsumoto work. It ran for 42 episodes. Actually, this one did play, I believe, on something over here. At some point.
I thought that was the one. Like I said, I know that was the one Carl Masick was going to combine with the other Matsumoto show.
Yeah, which well, again, there's a film which comes out next year related to it as well.
Yeah.
But in any case, again, Leiji Matsumoto, all his stuff is sort of interconnected. Well, most of it is anyway. And this is no exception. Like I said, this is the kind of stuff that would be a nightmare trying to map it out, probably. A lot of it originates from light novels, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Light novels weren't exactly, at this point, probably the way you think of them now, in the way that they're put out, or the frequency. But at least as far as I know. I could be wrong on that.
They weren't a huge thing like they are now.
In fact, I think he was one of the guys who really saw the use in that, I guess, for the lack of a better term.
Like, and a lot of I find that a lot of real big light novels from back in the day were kind of like this, like sci-fi epics.
Right.
The original Tenchi Muyo was based on light novels.
They probably are sort of the equivalent to in the US. We had a lot of those sci-fi like compilation paperbacks where it just had a bunch of young up and coming guys trying to get out there and carve out a career in that field.
Literary sci-fi.
Right. And they'd have like basic themes or something like that they'd be running through. Again, there used to be a thing out there called Weird Tales, for example, where it just kind of collected a bunch of stories. That's where Lovecraft and a bunch of people would pop up in. Again, well worth checking out. Leiji Matsumoto is he was one of anime's first serious people, I would say. That saw not a lot of goofiness in his material. At least not from what I ever remembered.
There's some goofiness, but
it doesn't feel like the goofiness in other shows, though.
There's some goofiness, but it's presented as like a moment of levity.
Right. It doesn't seem out of context in the show.
Exactly.
Yeah, like any kind of silliness or whatnot doesn't feel like it smacks you out of what you're watching. And for the lack of a better term, it doesn't shake the universe you're kind of peering into.
Right.
Okay. Now, as for films, there's a couple of interesting ones here. The first two Mobile Suit Gundam movie compilations came out this year.
Yes.
The first one, I'm going to cover that for a second. In all honesty, it's a slow movie. Like, I'll just come out and say it. The first Gundam movie in the compilation is kind of slow. It's probably hard to just drop in and check it out unless you're already kind of like someone on a mission.
Yeah, unless you're already invested.
Because it is a bit of a slow build, and it has to be, because the way it has to tell the story.
Right.
There's not really a way they could have done it without fundamentally changing it.
Yeah.
Whereas by movie 2, things start to really take off. Like, okay,
aren't they like 2.5 hours?
Yeah, they're long movies. They're very, very long, which is why it feels so slow on that first one. Although it does end on a really great note, which is, of course, the Garen speech, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm recalling correctly, where Amuro is sort of enamored with it, and Bright just kind of wants to smack him. It's just like, don't fall for that crap. He just wants to create a dictatorship. Anyway, then Soldiers of Sorrow, the second movie.
Yep.
Again, there's the second movie shows a little bit of different.
Which I read the novel for.
Parts that weren't in the show, like little pieces of animation.
Yes. Yeah.
Not a lot. The third movie will have more of that.
No G Fighter.
Yeah, they also cleaned up some of the more goofy self-proclaimed goofy elements Tomino didn't really like so much.
The more super robot.
Yeah, he kind of tried to excise a lot of that.
Yeah, although he didn't actually direct the movies. It was
But he did openly state that that's something he's glad isn't in there.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Basically, a piece of info I honestly didn't know for a long time is that, did you know the mobile suits in this were inspired by Starship Troopers?
I've heard of that.
That wouldn't surprise me. Starship Troopers was huge in Japan, like bigger than it was here.
Well, Heinlein is a big sci-fi writer in general. I mean, he's one of your like triumvirate guys. I mean, along with Asimov and a couple other people maybe.
Well, like if you look at even if you look back at the old the Daikon opening animations, they got
which I actually have on here.
Yeah, me too.
I was going to mention that last.
Yeah, they have the powered armor from Starship Troopers in there.
It's Studio Nue designed powered armor.
Yep.
Right. And again, just to point it out there, the movies are easily available. You can get them from Nozomi or Right Stuff.
Yeah.
Rather. Yeah. Which is their offshoot or whatever.
Well, licensed by Nozomi, distributed by Right Stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Same company.
Right. Basically, they're in-house, sort of. Yeah. Anyway, the runtime for movie 1 is 137 minutes, so it's pretty long.
It's well over 2 hours.
And the second movie is 139.
Again, well over 2 hours.
And the third, which we'll get to a little later, is 144.
Well over 2 hours.
Yeah. So, again, the second movie,
at a certain point, you're looking at yourself. Why don't I just watch the series?
Yeah, it's gonna take almost as much time. So, yeah. And needless to say, these are well worth watching.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I do.
That's because admittedly I've only watched the movies. The only TV version I've seen was a little bit when it was on Cartoon Network.
Oh yeah, so you got stuck seeing the iffy dub and all that. Yeah. Anyway, worth looking at. I think the third movie is the best, but we'll get to that for the next year. So another movie is Adieu Galaxy Express. Again, more Leiji Matsumoto for you. If you like his work, you will like this. If you don't like his work, you will. This isn't going to improve on that in any way.
Oh, I see. Rintaro directed that. Oh, we'll get to Rintaro.
Right. This was done by Toei, and Discotek has this. Again, recently got it, I believe. They're pulling a lot of coups here, aren't they? Seems like with a lot of these shows that sort of have historical bent to them. I mean, that is kind of their thing. A lot of it.
That's their wheelhouse.
Is largely old anime. I mean, but they're not afraid to dip into new stuff. I mean, they did get School Days. That was
for better or worse.
You're not happy about that?
No, I'm happy about it. I'm not sure if other people are happy.
Oh yeah. The typical clientele of Discotek's, purchasing. Yeah, I see what you mean there. Yeah.
They've done a bunch of newer stuff. They've done Nogazami.
Well, that's what I'm saying is they've dipped their toes into the newer stuff too. But that's not their
newer stuff. But that's
not their forte.
What they're known for is going back and licensing all this old stuff.
And again, this is a long movie too. It's 130 minutes. So that's one thing about the 80s and the 70s that is definitely different from now. There's a lot more lengthy films and series.
Yeah, they just don't give a fuck about film length.
No, they don't. Seemingly don't.
Because they need to fill a year. But film length, let's make a 2.5 hour film. Sure, why not?
Yeah. And again, some of these films and stuff are either compilation or sort of something like that. That's something Japan likes to do with these longer series, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Is make compilation movies, and they are usually different. They're not usually exactly the same. They'll have different plot points or have different parts in it that the series doesn't actually show.
Usually a slightly different interpretation of what happens in the series.
Yeah, and
sometimes a wildly different interpretation.
Yeah, I was just about to say, and sometimes it's just like what the hell just occurred
Then
there?
Then we just completely reanimate the whole thing as a movie.
Right, which that actually does happen sometimes.
Yes.
Again, I doubt that would happen now so much because that would probably be considered a waste of resources.
No, they just tweak.
Yeah, like, and we'll get to some of that when we get to it. The last thing I want to cover, if you guys don't have any others, would be the Daikon 3 and 4 open animations.
Yeah, that's 3.
Well, yeah, it'd be Daikon 3.
Right. Okay, my bad. Yeah. Again, my notes are a little. That's how it was classified as the. So yeah, you want to kind of comment on that?
So this is Daikon Film, which is Proto Gainax.
Mm.
The people who went on to create Gainax got together to take over a sci-fi convention, and they did that, and they decided we're going to make an opening animation to the sci-fi convention. So like they got it together in like, wasn't it like Okada's house
or something like that?
So it was made by 3 people with the wrong tools.
Yeah, they had to wash,
you gotta love that.
They had to wash like the cells off to reuse them.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
They got together in Okada's house and put this together. It was finished. It was finished the day it was supposed to premiere, and it obviously it goes down as a classic in terms of animation,
right?
But what's important about Daikon 3 is that it's the first animation put out by Proto Gainax.
Yeah, a lot of these people will show up further down the line as being part of the apparatus of a lot of this stuff.
But you see, it's a goofy little animation.
It's nothing heady by any means.
Glass of water to a plant being chased down by, like, was it Gigan or Megalon? It was one of those Godzilla monsters,
right?
Assailed by a Starship Troopers battle armor.
Right. Again, Heinlein, I'm sure was. I'm assuming his works got translated into Japanese early on.
And I was like, what are all these Japanese people doing with the Starship Troopers armor? I don't think they got the point of this entire franchise.
Yeah, the quasi-fascist sort of, and all that good stuff. Right, but again, its importance is largely historical more so than visual.
Yeah.
Again, the roots of Gainax and all that good stuff. So moving on to 82. Okay.
The birth of me.
Yeah. There you have it. The first thing I was going to point out here, it kind of funnels back into something we've already talked about. Armored Fleet Die Rugger 15.
Yes.
This is one of the things that they used to kind of mess around with Voltron when it was heavily welded all together.
Yes, it's like in the intro, Galaxy Garrison.
Yeah, exactly. This is one that's owned by Media Blasters. Again, just like Beast King Go Lion.
I need to see Die Rugger someday. That's
ran for 52 episodes. Toei Animation and Daiwan Animation. Obviously, it's mecha, of course.
It's 15 vehicles, as the name implies.
Yeah, and again, you can just look at this, and the first thing I thought when I saw it was, holy shit, Pez dispensers are sentient. I'm not even joking. That's the first thought that came to mind is, oh no, they're mad at me for all the Pez I ate. No, as a kid, no. But no, a lot of the extra footage and stuff was sort of grafted or welded into Voltron, Defender of the Universe. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of it wasn't it welded more toward the end of it, or am I wrong on that?
Well, just no. What it was just okay. the only welding of the two in the show was the Garrison thing in that intro.
Right. Okay.
But what happened was they ran Voltron. They ran, Go Lion Voltron.
Mm-hmm.
So Director came right after that. But Lion Voltron was so popular that they commissioned Toei to make more.
Mm-hmm.
And they made an extra 20 episodes for Voltron.
Yeah. Right. And again, just looking at it, you can see just looking at the little pictures of it, like official art and posters and stuff. You can kind of see how it was how they did that, rather, or how and why, I guess is the better term.
Well, they were going to release the other show that actually came out next year, but I don't have to mention it. But Albegas.
Yeah.
They were going to release that show here, but like I said, there was kind of at the time a lukewarm response to Vehicle Voltron, and a very high response for Line Voltron. So that's why they pursued it.
Right. Yeah. So that's sort of your history lesson with even I was a little confused by this when I originally encountered it. Like, wait, what the hell? Because it's hard to keep a lot of this stuff straight when you see they've butchered numerous shows and tried to like shove them all into the same one.
Also, I've heard that Go Lion is like Star Wars and Die Rugger is like Star Trek. So that's probably why. Also, I imagine the kids at the time probably weren't as into the more exploratory sci-fi,
right,
more fantastical space opera.
Right. Okay. The next one coming up here is another Leiji Matsumoto thing. Again, he was pretty busy at this time. Arcadia of My Youth, Endless Orbit X SSX. Yeah, I hate saying that. Anyway, again, it's the Leiji, as it's described here, as the Leiji verse. Yeah. This one actually is a little bit shorter. It only ran for 22 episodes. Discotheque has this. It's hard for me to kind of pinpoint. I know it's supposed to be something of like a prequel or whatnot, and that it also is somewhat contradictory. But again, trying to tie all this together and to begin with is probably just a futile effort.
My understanding of the Leiji verse is that it doesn't matter.
Right. It's there to entertain you. And it's,
pretty sure I remember it was Galaxy Railways or Galaxy Express or something, one of those Galaxy Train anime by Leiji Matsumoto.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching a couple episodes of that, around the same time as I was watching episodes of Gun Frontier, which is another Leiji Matsumoto work, which is a Wild West anime. And all I know is I was watching this Galaxy Space Train anime, and they were on a planet where it was just Gun Frontier.
Yeah. So yeah, no explanation or any of that.
It's just
shit.
The Wild West, I guess. So
yeah.
The Leiji Matsumoto universe was never meant to be made sense of. I'm convinced about that.
In this way. Okay. Yeah. I mean that's the thing is, and this is the problem. Is I like a lot of his stuff, but it's stuff I've only seen piecemeal in the sense that, like, okay, I've seen this one, I've seen this one, I've seen parts of that one. And, like, trying to tie that together is just, like, wait a minute, was that part of that? No,
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know what? I give up.
Fuck it, whatever.
You've beat me, Matsumoto.
Yeah. Here.
I'll stop trying to make sense of your
stuff there. Here, have some Pez. Yeah, Toei Animation put this one out.
I got it off of one of those Dairuga robots. They won't.
Yeah. I'm gonna munch on one of those Dairuga. That's great. Another series that came out was that I like a lot. Was Cobra, Space Adventure Cobra.
Space Adventure Cobra.
Now, I've only seen the film version.
I need to see at least the film version.
I've not
have
seen
the film version. I still need to watch it.
It's 31 episodes. Nozomi put this out. As a television series. If I'm not, and although I don't think they didn't put out the movie, did they? I thought Discotheque did.
I think Discotheque had the movie.
Yeah,
Only has the television series.
I've only seen the film. I'm not even sure if the film and the series are the same thing necessarily. I wasn't never really fully sure of any of that. Is it just like a compilation type movie or?
Honestly, no, it's all new.
Yeah, okay. I thought it was, but I wasn't fully sure on that. That was one of those ones where I believe we got the movie a long time before we ended up getting the series.
Yeah.
Type deals. And again, the influence of Star Wars on this is very obvious.
Yeah.
Characters like Han Solo and all that stuff definitely appear to be sort of the.
I love the design of the thing of the thing called Crystal Boy.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Right.
Like an android.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's well worth checking out. Again, I can't speak of the series though because I never did see that. If someone else wants to kind of say something about that, that's fine. And you can get it now from Nozomi. So
I got another series on my list.
As do I, but I think everybody knows what it is. So go ahead.
Another Tomino show.
Mm-hmm.
Zangle.
Mm-hmm.
Although he only directed it. He didn't write this one.
Right.
So it had a lighter tone, from what I understand.
Yeah.
Right. This one was 50 episodes and also put out by Made in Japan.
Yep.
Yes.
That subsidiary of Sentai, you said?
Yeah. Well, section 23 is the main thing, and then under that they have.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I got it.
On High Dive.
Yeah, but also Made in Japan. Yeah, High Dive. Made in Japan's kind of like their Criterion-ish.
Okay.
It's like for older stuff, more.
There's a film too. It looks
yeah.
like.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's
that came out the next year. Is that like all new, or is that also a compilation?
I think it's a compilation or something.
Yeah. Well, it must not be a very good one then, because it's only 84 minutes compared to 50 episodes. That's not. I don't see how that would work, but
almost half the size of some of these Gundam compilations.
Yeah, exactly. So have you seen this? I honestly am totally unfamiliar with this one.
I have not seen Zambogal.
You just thought I would mention it because?
Well, like I said, it's Tomino. It is one of those shows that you're gonna find a lot of these shows that it's weird. It's like they only had the one show and maybe a movie or something, or an OVA later on. But it's like they're kind of niche, but they have an enough of fan base still in Japan that they once in a while bring out new stuff. It's really it's interesting that they do that for
right.
some of these shows, especially for the next year when we get to next year, because some of these shows like okay.
All right, two more I've got on here. One of which is Magical Princess Minky Momo.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This is one of the earlier. This is like your pre-Sailor Moon Magical Girl sort of stuff. It apparently was pretty popular at the time. A lot of guys liked it, oddly enough.
Yeah, this is one of the first Magical Girl shows where they found out a lot of grown men.
Yeah. Like when they looked out over the crowd or whatever, when at the release thing or whatever, it's like 90% men or something. 63 episodes. I don't think anybody has this.
No.
Yeah. Although I won't be surprised if someone does pick it up.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Although looking here later on, one of them is actually owned by Harmony Gold. It looks like,
Hey,
which might explain a lot.
Here's the thing: unlike them releasing old robot shows, I don't think they haven't broken the market for old magical girl shows yet.
Somebody will. If it's them or not, wow.
I think they tried with Creamy Mommy.
Mm-hmm. Also another one of those.
And it was one of those, like, I think it was like a print on demand or a limited availability.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's there's unless it was released in the US at some point for a nostalgia market, it doesn't have the same because there's definitely we now have a market for old robot stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And it does have sort of this convergence with toy collectors and stuff in general.
Yes.
So, okay, now here's the big one. Anubis is getting impatient.
Let's do it.
The Super Dimension Fortress Macross.
Yes.
This is, again, this is a legal nightmare. And has been for some time. We have a whole episode about it. Go listen to that so we don't have to talk about it again. For numerous reasons. It ran for 36 episodes. This is one of those earlier Shoji Kawamori things.
Yep.
Again.
What Shoji Kawamori on the map. Yeah.
It's a great show. It's probably the best show that we couldn't legally get. That we legally can't have it for a couple years.
Well, okay. We have Macross. Might not be the version we really want. But we can legally get Macross.
Well, no, but Anime Ego
can't legally get Macross 7
but
or
Anime
Macross
Ego,
Frontier.
Wait. Anime Ego and then ADV did release Macross Uncut originally at some point.
Yeah, but doesn't it look like ass?
It looked all right.
Because what I heard was that it actually looks pretty bad.
Well, I mean, they have.
Well, it looks bad now because it's DVD. You know.
Well, I mean, they got it on like
time is what I mean.
They've got it on Amazon Prime, and I'm not sure.
I have heard about
that. In these releases are, so I don't know what release they're using on Amazon Prime. We can get Macross legally is my point. My point is we can't get Macross 7 or Frontier or Zero legally. And that's the problem.
Right. The whole franchise itself is interlocked with all this bullshit.
We by some stroke of luck, we managed to get Macross 2 and Macross Plus over here. And that's it.
We should mention, again, for those who didn't see the old episode, that this is one of those shows, just like Beast King Go Lion, that has been spliced with others.
Yes. So,
this one's even more complicated than that one.
Yeah. It's weird.
It really is. Like, this show alone could have one of those fucking tree diagrams. Be like, wait, what the fuck? The most notable, though, is Robotech.
Yeah.
Again, some of the other ones we're going to mention in some of the coming years here actually will tie into it as well.
Right.
And again, you might want some pen and paper because it's going to get weird. And then you throw in BattleTech and all this other shit. Yeah. As for the show itself, do whatever you have to do to see it. That's all I'm going to say. It absolutely is essential viewing, I think. Now, as for films, unless anybody has any other one they want to kind of tinker with here.
Yes, Ideon.
Well, yeah, but those are films.
Oh, yeah, okay. Oh,
yeah. There are 2 films from Space Runaway Ideon. A Contact and Be Invoked.
Yes.
85 minutes and 100 minutes, respectfully.
Well over 3 hours combined.
Yeah. And again, both are put out under as part of the whole package, I believe, with Made in Japan. Again, I just recently saw your Twitter thing about that. Now this is where it gets weird, because another one of those weird things, because the TV ending, like the first movie, A Contact, is pretty much the compilation one. That's the That's the kind of
yes.
That's the one that gives you the basic run of what's going on and all that crap.
Right.
Whereas the second one, Be Invoked, is kind of after all of it.
It's supposed to be the last 4 episodes.
Right, but it's greatly expanded upon. And sort of this. And again, it gets really weird. You can see the Evangelion stuff in a lot of this. Lots of strange, like even the whole souls thing.
Yeah, the instrumentality.
Yeah, this is totally where he got that
good
idea.
Guys,
I'm
good
very
guys, bad guys all together.
Yeah, totally convinced this is where Anno got that idea.
Naked in space, and then for some reason they're singing "Happy Birthday" to a baby. And...
Yeah, which is a little bit even weirder than "Come Sweet Death." But the parallels with the movies Death and Rebirth, though, are interesting, just in general. Again, and that second movie has a bunch of different new animation and stuff. It's very strange, and it's worth seeing just to see the both the influence and kind of the parallels. Apparently, this actually was rated 10 among the greatest series compiled by Animage or Animage. I've never been 100% sure. It's supposed to be Animage. That makes more sense, but you know,
Anime Magazine.
Yeah, see that makes more sense.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. I always thought the other one was just kind of weird. It made it sound like it was some sort of wizard's manual or something. Like, oh, this is how, yeah. Anyway, worth checking out. I would argue the movies actually are more enjoyable than the actual show, to me.
That's the thing. It's like I've only seen the movies, but I will probably at some point, even if it like on sale, I will own this.
Because the TV series, the first time I attempted it, felt kind of almost like a chore. Not gonna lie, which I'm probably gonna get hate for that.
But I still want to own it. I still want to own it for that. You know, because I'm willing to watch it all through.
Yeah, and plus, I'll be honest. The first time I tried to watch it, I was kind of in one of those things where I wasn't really in the right space of mind.
Right.
No, I completely understand that. That's like you have to really be in the mood sometimes to watch older
something media. Like that. Yeah, because again, sort of similar when I saw that first Gundam movie because it's so slow. If you're not really ready for that, if you're expecting it to be much more animated, in terms of being up tempo or kinetic or something like that, it's just not going to satisfy that.
Well, it might be like that. When I originally watched, what was it, Dot Hack Sign, and that was back.
This stuff happens.
Yeah, it was back before I could really appreciate dialogue-heavy anime.
Right, and again, we've all seen it, we've all done it, we've all seen something, then we came back and go, "Why did I hate this?" or "Why didn't I like this the first time?"
Yeah, exactly.
I actually like the second series from that series.
Dot Hack Legend of Twilight.
Yes.
I've never actually sat down and watched Legend of Twilight.
For the other movie here is Mobile Suit Gundam 3 Encounters in Space.
Yes.
The best of the three for numerous reasons. One, just the content in general, but also because there's a lot of new animation and it just overall looks the best. Whereas, and again, the some of the sillier elements of the TV series, more by way of comparison than anything else, are largely excised from these films.
No Zaccarello.
Yeah.
No God,
unfortunately, they took out the best.
Everyone's fine.
They took out the best Xeon mobile suit.
Which one?
The GAN.
Oh, they took out the worst Xeon mobile suit. I misheard you. I thought you said best.
That's the thing about the films, though, is Makuve, however you want to say it. It's been translated both ways. He as a character does get the shaft in the films. I will say that he has much more of a prominent role in the television series, which is one thing I actually like about it more.
All I'll say is maybe he should have picked a better mobile suit. Maybe then he would have been included in the film. Sorry, the gun's terrible. Not as terrible as the Methus. Not nearly as terrible as the Methus.
Yeah.
However, pretty bad design. Hey, I'm gonna put a whole bunch of explosive ordnance in the shield that I also used to block with.
Well, there you have it.
That sounds like a terrible idea. Maybe you shouldn't do that. No, we already made the Gyan. Let's give it to Mikube. Maybe that's why he had the Gyan. They all hate him.
Yeah.
They gave him the shitty mobile suit.
As an aside, there were some interesting religious / Christian animated things like Superbook and Flying House around this time as well. We're not going to get into that, but I do remember
either of those.
But I do remember these showing on television when I was a kid. Made me wince, to be honest.
They still show one of them on the
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Right.
But we're not going to concentrate on that for reasons that should, well, look at our show. We're not going to be, focusing on religious oriented stuff like that. Anyway, now moving on to 1983, unless you have any objections.
Nope.
Okay. This is where I think where things really start to take off in terms of number of stuff coming out. There just seems like there's more at this point, and more good stuff for that matter. Just in general, not just like historically important, but stuff that's just fun to watch even. Let's take a look at okay, hang on here. We got here's one that people probably don't think about too much just because it's not one of your big names, but Galactic Whirlwind Saucerriger.
Oh yeah, I was thinking of mentioning the J9 trilogy. But I left that out because despite them being a trilogy, it shows that they didn't really
I thought I'd throw at least one of these in there.
All right.
These type of shows. First off, I love the name. I always have. I've always thought that was just an entertaining name. Galactic Whirlwind.
I just generally like all of these shows where it's 3 words.
Yeah.
So some type of combat unit and then the name of that combat unit.
Yes.
Mobile Suit Gundam. Space Battleship Yamato.
Right.
Galactic Whirlwind Saucerriger.
Armored Fleet Dairugger.
Armored Fleet Dairugger. Armored Trooper Votoms.
Beast King Golion. I mean,
it's like,
that does seem to be.
It's a lot better than the light novel naming scheme. I'll tell you that much.
And easier to pronounce too.
What would be the light novel name?
We'll talk about that when we got more time.
I accidentally fell into the mobile suit,
and now I'm the pilot.
Now I'm the pilot, and I'm really sad all the time.
So Evangelion.
Well, you just switch out the mobile suit called Gundam and say the Evangelion called Eva Unit 1.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, this
makes it longer.
This ran for 43 episodes. Nobody has it as far as I know.
No, but the robot is a steam engine.
Yeah.
Turns into a steam engine.
This one's more super robot-y than some of the other stuff going on, for sure.
Great opening. Well, they all are. All the J9 ones.
Right. Again, I only pointed that one out because that one is just one that I think gets overlooked a lot. Okay, let's get to some of the more prominent stuff here. Aura Battler Dunbine. Again, there's that 3
More
word.
Tamino.
Yeah.
More Tamino.
More Tamino. This is post Gundam Tamino, one of his bigger ones. Sentai has this one.
Yes.
Which is nice. It's nice that this one's back because this one disappeared for a while.
Yeah, caveat, I actually was watching, like, back in the 2000s, I was buying a couple of volumes, but then I just stopped.
and then it just like they stopped on you.
Well, one, I was like, it wasn't drawing me that in the beginning, but it was just, the thing is, it's like the worst release. It's the worst way to release an old show like that.
Right, especially
like 5 episodes at a time.
Well, not only that, but what ends up happening, and this is still a problem when people do this, is like it seems like what happens is, say there's 5 or 6 volumes of something like this, just a random number like that. And what ends up happening is volume 4, something becomes scarce.
Oh, that's what happened with that show.
And like you can't find it, and nobody ever carries it, and you end up just not getting it.
That's exactly what happened with this show. The last 2 volumes became absurdly rare.
Yeah, and like, yeah, exactly.
Like 12. Guess how many volumes? 12 volumes.
Jesus.
What the hell for a show that's only got 39 episodes?
No, Dunbine's like 50 episodes.
Oh yeah, it's my bad. I was, my eyes are fucking with me. Yeah, 49. My bad. That's still a lot. That's still like way too many.
Yeah, and like I said, it was 5 episodes I think the first volume had like 6 or something. Right.
Well, anyway, this is one of Tomino's better ones. That's a non-Gundam one.
Yeah.
It's well worth checking out. It's got.
I do want to see it again sometime. I will.
It's got your typical Tomino stuff. It's got weird names. It's got a lot of deaths and things like that.
I think it has like the highest death count of any Tomino show.
Yeah, which is saying a fucking lot. Because some of these, well, let's put it this way. In the mid-'80s, Tomino was definitely going through serious depression at some point.
Which is ironic because when I think about that, because it was like the height of like the bubble economy.
Well, right, but that, you know.
No, I mean, I know one thing doesn't correlate with the other.
No, especially not that.
No, but it's just interesting, like.
It's funny that these two things coincided.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta love some of the names, like Marvel Frozen.
Marvel Frozen.
You gotta love that. Or another great one, Todd Guinness.
Yeah, a shot weapon.
Yeah, that's gotta be probably
the best one.
Top.
I think that was the American character too.
Yeah, top 3, I think. Another one that's great is Drake Luft. But yeah, lots of silly Tomino names, which are just very
here's the other trivia about the show, is the novels that he wrote originally didn't have the robots.
Right. Huh, interesting.
Did
not know that.
That was only because they needed, Tomino, successful with Gundam and this other stuff. They needed a thing to like sell the show on besides the fantasy. So Clover was the toy company that made the toys, and Bandai was the model kit maker at the time. Designed by Yutaka Itsubuchi, and you will hear that name quite a bit later on because he becomes very prominent in the mecha designing scene.
And speaking of mecha, here's another big one that came out that year. Armored Trooper Votoms.
Yes.
And again, there's that naming scheme again.
Armored Trooper Votoms.
I saw it the first.
What's funny is Votoms is the name of the type of unit.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, in traditional form, it's an acronym.
Vertical one-man tank for offensive maneuvers.
Yes.
I've only seen the first episode, but the weird thing is I saw it when I was 14 at this so they had this thing. It was kind of like what we're doing, the history of anime up until almost. They had 3 different showings. I came in at the very end. I wanted to see what I really wanted to see. There was they were showing you're gonna piss out laughing. Was the anime for Battle Arena Toshinden.
Oh.
Huh.
Okay, that's what I came there. But I came there a little early, quite early. I came at the tail end of them showing the original Gigantor.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I ended up seeing with my dad was they showed 3 '80s things. Well, okay, one was an '80s, because the first thing was, wait a minute, oh no, that was the last thing. Okay, but the first thing I saw was an episode of Robotech, which was not the Macross part. We'll get to that later.
Well, coming up, we're going to be getting to that real quick.
Yeah.
The middle was the first episode of Votoms, which that was actually the best of the 3 things I saw. One, because it was subtitled. The 2 was the most, I don't know, it was intriguing, and it had like a really nice jazzy opening. What else? There's a naked bald woman.
Is it I was gonna make some joke about, I can't think of her name right now.
Sinead O'Connor.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was either Sinead O'Connor or Grace Jones.
Yeah. Right the first time.
Actually, I'm thinking they were probably inspired by the first Star Trek movie for that.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, to slightly continue, this is 52 episodes, and this is
the last thing was the last thing was the Star Blazers.
Ooh.
Okay.
This ran for 52 episodes. It is held by Made in Japan right now, so they're really making some gains in this department.
If I'm not mistaken, I'll check right now. I think it's
another name you'll see popping up is Ryosuke Takahashi. And again, this is one of those franchises that actually is still continuing even now. There's every once in a while something new comes out.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about with like some of these robot shows where there's a small enough niche audience that they
mostly OVAs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they bring out something here and there.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of those, for sure. It's
so
good.
High Dive does have our Armored Trooper Votoms, so you can watch it there.
Yeah, and again, if you want to buy it, Made in Japan has it. You know, okay. This one is a little bit more what they call hard science.
Yeah, it's a lot more grounded in
real science and whatnot. Yeah, than more than say, especially like super robot crap or something like that.
Especially super robot. But like,
okay, I shouldn't call it crap. I enjoy it.
But it's even more grounded than something like Gundam.
Yeah, it is
very focused on being down to earth, gritty, and realistic. As far as you can go with that when we're still talking about giant robots. When we're talking about giant robots, the Votoms units aren't actually really that big.
They're not like a Zaku or anything where it's just like it's gonna step on an entire village or some shit.
You could climb into it.
Yeah, you could
right. These are
climb
more
inside one as a normal person.
These are more like the Tachicomas or something from Ghost in the Shell. You know, you actually get in them.
Well, it kind of bridges the gap between a full-size mecha and a powered armor. Because it's like just above the size of 2 people standing on the other's shoulders, and you kind of shimmy inside the head part and control it in the standing position like that. It's very, very interesting way to control the mecha.
All right, now here again, get out your pen and paper. The next one I want to look at is Genesis Climber Mospeada.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've watched all of that, by the way.
This one is another one of those Robotech Tangle or fucks, or however you want to look at it.
That was the Robotech episode I saw, by the way.
Right.
I told you.
Okay, yeah. And first off, a lot of really cool designs and stuff.
Also uses that three words naming scheme.
And Mospeada is again an acronym.
Yep.
In this case, it's wonderfully Military Operations Soldier Protection Emergency Aviation Dive Armor.
You know they came up with the word before they
came up with the description. You know they did. Like I refuse to believe they didn't.
Oh, also a very prominent designer in the 80s worked on this.
Mhm.
Shinji Aramaki.
Yeah.
Yes. A lot of really great designs. And that's another thing. I mean, not to knock on super robots and stuff. The stuff that wasn't really super robots, that's just mecha. A lot of them,
Real robot is the term people use.
Yeah.
Right. More mecha and military science fiction. You got these incredible designs out of some of this stuff. Like, and I'm sure you as an artist and designer of mecha, VZ, know what I mean when I say you look at some of this stuff and wonder, how in the fuck did you even think of that?
Oh yeah, the bike armor is so unbelievable. It's so crazy complicated.
Like it's almost just like, would this stuff even work, or did they even think of that when they draw it? No, it just looks cool.
I actually remember reading an interview about that specific aspect, that they were thinking that, and then they saw that there was a tire small enough that they thought, oh, this could be something that people could like wear, like carry around.
Right. This ran for 25 episodes.
Here's the problem. I feel like that the last 2 episodes should have been like at least 4 episodes, 4 or 5.
Or they did the thing where, and this is a real problem with sci-fi and mecha specifically, where the endings feel somewhat anticlimactic. Like they're either too much crammed and too little, or it's so open-ended you're just kind of like, wait, what?
It's like they introduced this other faction thing, or it was like, I remember it was like
right,
Dark Legios, which is the name of the transforming jet in this,
right.
And it's like, the show, it's like you could have built on this to be
right,
a little bit more, and I guess it
again nitpicking though. You should still go see it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't think you can buy it as of now. In any real form.
Right,
it's out of print. I know I saw it one time.
Yes.
And it's probably out of their mind wanting money for it, right?
Like, no, it's pretty cheap.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. Was it used?
It was used, yeah.
Okay, that explains
why. Pretty cheap. I didn't pick it up because I don't want to buy anything with a Harmony Gold.
You know what? When that Robotech license...
somebody better hop on this.
I'm sure... Before Macross, they'll get this only because it's probably an easier thing to release.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. That wouldn't surprise me.
And there's a Blu-ray release in Japan.
There we go.
Blu-ray release, so
right. Now, to kind of coincide and to continue on the whole Robotech, ow my head, what the fuck is going on here? There's another one called Super Dimension Century Orgus.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, yeah, and that I watched all of.
Right, and this one has aired before.
So like Macross, Super Dimension Fortress Macross started off 2 different franchises. Started off the Macross franchise and the Super Dimension franchise, which I say it's a franchise. They don't really have anything to do with each other, do they?
No,
I don't think so.
They're completely unrelated series.
No, it's just a moniker. It's just a thing that
yeah. We should point out there's 35 episodes. Discotech has this, as far as I know.
That's a show that I really, really wanted to like, and maybe I was like, you know what you're talking about.
This is one of those few ones of this nature that I just couldn't get into.
You know what? That's probably then it was this. It's just I wasn't as into it. I mean, I watched it all.
I mean, I didn't hate it or anything. It just didn't pump me up.
I love the design. I will say I love the design work, both the mecha and character design, and just the architect. Like, just overall, it looked nice. But I just couldn't get into it the way like some of these other shows.
Right, and again, these things came out by the buttload. These kind of shows, these kind of mecha shows, and again, sometimes you wanted to like them because they had interesting designs or even a cool concept.
Yeah, but
it just doesn't coalesce together in the way you like.
that you build it up in your mind so much,
and then it's just like, ah, crap. This one is another one of those ones that would kind of experience a slight reboot, or not a reboot, but a resurgence, I guess.
There was an OVA in the 90s.
In the 90s, which when we get to the 90s, we might bring it back up. But
I will say, I actually like that OVA more than the TV series.
I never saw it, but
okay. I recommend the OVA. It's
okay. I'll put that on the back burner there.
Yeah. Also,
along with a million other things.
Also, the dub is great for that.
Yeah, I've heard some things about that.
Some great lines.
And I do have one other one on here, but you guys can throw in some others. This one is. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
This one is again you gotta love it.
Works.
Yeah, exactly. Psycho Armor Govarian.
Yes. Oh, that's the show that I can't believe Discotheque is releasing that of all things.
Right. This one is 26 episodes. Again, Discotheque does have it. It's scheduled. I
like what I call it better. I like my name for it better. Mazinger in space.
Basically, from what it really looks like, it's
Mazinger trying really hard to be Gundam.
Although this one has something about it that's a little different than some of these other ones, and that's that it originates with Go Nagai. He created the manga for it.
Right.
I don't think he didn't draw it or anything. He wrote it. I believe it was illustrated by somebody else. But
he seemed to be. It's almost like he seemed to be struggling at this point.
Right, because like you don't really see a lot of his traditional sort of like. I guess he was trying to stay on base with sort of all this mecha that was happening at the time.
Yeah, and the thing was,
I mean, which you could argue in a way he almost started it.
Yeah.
Which is the funny thing, because you think Mazinger, it's like, well, that's Go Nagai's baby.
That more grounded in harder sci-fi. That's not his forte.
No, not at all. His is more. When I think of Go Nagai in general, I don't think of anything too serious at all.
Yeah.
I don't think of.
I think of blood. I think of gore, action, and tits.
Yeah, it's the pure masculine id.
Yeah, it's like it really does.
Not like adult as mature per se. Adult.
No, it's. I don't want to. I say this with all love. It's kind of meatheady.
Yeah. That's a good.
And again, I don't like saying that because it makes it sound like it's stupid or whatnot. But no, it's like everything I thought was cool when I was 15 and going through, testosterone blasts and whatnot.
We got some movies here.
Yeah, we do, and some really high-profile ones too.
Yeah. I gotta talk about the first one here.
Sure.
Right. Harmageddon.
Ooh, excuse me.
Yeah. So this is one I actually saw in the 90s on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen a lot of anime at that point, but even then I was like thinking, wow, this is kind of cheesy. The thing is, I watched it like a year or two ago. It has fantastic animation, and it's the best thing that I can liken it to is Watchmen.
Okay, that gives you a kind of a good frame of reference.
Okay, because like how Watchmen the movie, how like the manga for Harmageddon came out 20 years prior. And the comic book for Watchmen came out 20 years prior. They're both high profile, so they're both high profile things.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is excellent. When it's bad, it's like the absolute like cringe-inducing bad. It's and it fluctuates. Both things fluctuate back and forth. They ping pong back and forth on that. I mean, they had this like this very Captain Planet-ish of like basically a cast of tokens. And then like the robot character, which is like the best character in the movie, he's like he goes to the girl, is like, you don't like him because he's black, and I'm like, they're thinking, no, maybe she doesn't like him because he's a leader of her gang. maybe that's why.
You're thinking too reasonably.
Yeah. That's yeah.
I mean, I love like it has like this whole apocalypse thing going on, and like everyone, but
that was a common thing you saw in a lot of anime, especially in the 80s.
There's like it's like everyone gets possessed except for like the main cast. Like everyone on the planet is apparently possessed except for like the main cast. So there's like that element to it. It's also popularized because before this, anime had like detailed animation, especially in openings, but this movie really prioritized realism. That thing that anime will become known for, especially like in the West, that became like really like meticulous, detailed realism. Like the backgrounds are based on real backgrounds. You know, the actual locations that you could conceivably visit. You know, too bad they didn't get that detail out culturally enough.
Right.
For some I do recommend it, but like I said, the caveats, and it is an important movie. It was still kind of influential. The robot design I said in it was actually kind of influenced the Guyver design.
Right. Okay. Okay. We got some other movies to kind of look at here. Yes. There's kind of an important one here, Barefoot Gen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Depressing as hell. Takes place. It's sort of it falls under the same umbrella, sort of as Grave of the Fireflies, certainly in terms of content. It's World War II from their sort of POV, and naturally that just everything about that should tell you all you need to know.
I saw a thing a couple of years ago. Well, maybe it was more like 10 years ago. On HBO they were talking about like various survivors of the atomic bomb, and they had the manga artist, and they were showing a few clips from the movie.
Right. It's well worth seeing. That being said, does anybody have it?
I think so.
If so, I'm not sure who does.
I think it might be another discotheque that.
I mean, it sounds like something they would get, but
yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm not going to check this aspect, but I think it's the manga. I think it was the first manga that ever came out in the U.S.
That could be.
And here's the thing. Yeah, Barefoot Gen movies 1 and 2. Oh, they have it on Blu-ray. Yep, Eastern Star. That's discotheque.
All right.
Yeah. But the thing was, it wasn't like a manga company that brought it over. It was an anti-war group.
Huh.
It kind of makes sense. That makes perfect.
Oh, it does. It makes sense.
That really makes sense.
So it's like the first thing to come out would be something like that.
Right. Well, okay. Right. And again, well worth getting, well worth seeing. Another one that doesn't get really enough love is Crusher Joe.
See, I need to see the Crusher Joe stuff. I
only saw
a little bit of Crusher Joe.
I've only seen the film, not the OVAs that came after. It's 125 minutes, so it's a nice long movie. It's Discotech has it, so it's easy to get.
I'm sure it's something I would enjoy.
Yeah, it is sort of right up your alley. You'd probably like it a lot too, Anubis.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Crusher Joe is another work of anime that BattleTech took robot designs from.
You might be right about that. I'm not 100% sure about, but it certainly wouldn't make that tree any easier to draw.
Yep. The tree just got harder. The Locust from BattleTech, as well as the Samurai Aerospace Fighter and the Galleon light tank, are all from Crusher Joe.
And the studios that designed this were pretty much Nippon Sunrise and Studio Nue.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, everything about this just screams when it was made, but not in a bad way. Beyond that, we had Go-Go 13, The Professional.
Yes. I have that. Yeah, that's also on my list. Cool movie also.
It's notorious as being one of those movies that the Anime Encyclopedia really hated.
Yeah. Very masculine, by the way. It's
like
a guy movie.
Like when people say guy movies, this is what they mean right here. I mean, it's like not even a. It really isn't.
13 is the male fan. Is like the alpha male fantasy realized.
Right.
When you think about it, because he gets the girl, he gets to have sex with any girl, and he gets to kill people with no consequence attached to it.
Other pieces of interest is, at least according to my notes, the first animated film to incorporate CGI animation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which that is why it is the main reason I listed it.
Yes. And it looks like 1983 computer.
Yeah,
it looks exactly like you would expect it to in 1983.
That being said, it's still worth watching. It's also got an extreme amount of America-centric sort of stuff in it.
Yep.
Like, like the FBI, CIA. You saw a lot of this stuff in these kind of shows and movies and stuff, simply because a lot of that big business, big corporation sort of stuff and government entanglements started to kind of become a good, like, wellspring of plot points.
Yeah, nice backdrop.
And I think they probably ganked a lot of that idea from stuff like Bond movies and books and stuff.
Oh yeah, I guarantee you.
Because they did that too. Like,
MI6,
like Spectre, or which is like, it's all like your big wigs and people from all over, not just one of these. But it also, there's New York City and stuff, which not assassinating an ex-Nazi and just all kinds of shit, I mean, everything about it just screams 80s and like, grrr, testosterone in a good way.
What is it? There's also a really good twist at the end.
We should also mention that most of the people in this movie actually do have a American name.
Yeah.
Which is not common in these sort of things. So that alone tells you it was highly inspired by probably Hollywood films and stuff.
Yeah.
And again, not in a bad way.
It was also one of those that, like, when the boom in the early 90s for anime came, this was one of the ones like released by Streamline. Yeah,
exactly. It fit right into that whole sort of carefully selected titles to try to make it look like it was this cutting edge kind of hyper violent thing.
Yeah, cutting edge animation.
Slap in some Celtic Frost in the background, and
state of the art. That was the word.
Yeah. So speaking, which we should mention that they did sort of play with Go-Go 13 some more later on, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah.
Now, some other things. We got Final Yamato, which is the fourth theatrical movie in the space battleship Yamato. There it is again. Saga.
The three. We need to go back to the three. The three. Because these light novel titles are getting out of control.
Yes, they are. Again, well worth like put it this way: if you've watched the first three, there's no reason you wouldn't watch this fourth one.
Yeah.
Pretty long running one too.
You know what we should do?
It's 163 minutes.
You know what would be a good hobby, like a side thing to do? Take these light novel titles and try to make them into just the 3.
Or better yet,
hey, listen,
I got a better thing than that.
We're gonna take Ori Imo, Little Sister Kirino. It works.
Well, better than that. I think what we can do to make one of these, what do you call it? A sort of an automated naming mechanism for that. Like where you just put in
generator.
It's like put in 2 sciencey words and the name of a thing, like a robot or weapon of some kind. The other one I wanted to put out that's a movie is Urusei Yatsura, Only You.
Yep.
This should be pointed out as being one of Mamoru Oshii's better works, in my opinion, because he's one of those people that tries to get really abstract and weird, and it doesn't always work for me. So when he seems like he's got something else going on, like this, where he's clearly not necessarily the brains behind it.
Yeah, where he's not the one helming the entire thing.
Right. Well, this should be pointed out as apparently was his first directorial debut as a film.
Well, what I'm saying is when he has something to work off of.
Right. Otherwise, you end up with something like Angel's Egg or some shit.
Yeah.
Which we're not going to get into that right now. But
let's see if you could guess this one. Boob String Hestia.
Well, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon?
Yeah.
You see, it works. We need to go back to the 3-word naming scheme because these light novel titles are getting out of control.
Yeah. What's weird about this is Only You, I don't believe, is available right now, but its sequel is.
Beautiful Dreamer is. I know that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has.
Kind of strange there. But again, if you like Urusei Yatsura, the movies are well worth watching. Just because they look nice. Takahashi's designs are always, just in general, they look nicer in a film form because they get the extra boost from the budget and all that.
Yeah.
Right. And again, this one production was done by Kitty Films. No, not that one. Not Kitty the thing you're thinking
not
of.
Kitty Media.
And Studio Piero. Right. And again, Mamoru Oshii, I don't really remember. I mean, he's going to show up more than a few times, but again, this isn't my favorite of the movies of this, but it's worth watching. And again, if nothing else, just for his, debut as a director for films. And now, arguably, depending on whom you ask, the first OVA, Dalos. Which I still, to this day, I'm not sure if that's how you actually pronounce that.
Yeah,
I need to see
looking
Dalos.
at it, it looks like Dalos to me.
This is interesting on a couple levels, though. First off, Mamoru Oshii, there he is again.
No, with no leash this time.
Yeah.
Existing property.
This is basically, I think 4 episodes. 4 OVAs, right? Again, Discotheque has this. The North American box art for this is absolutely hilarious. It looks like a bad NES game.
Yeah.
It almost looks like, hey, did you like Solar Jetman? And other annoyingly hard and bad games? Anyway, Bo, this was inspired seemingly by my favorite Heinlein novel, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. That actually is my favorite of his. A lot of people like Starship Troopers or Stranger in a Strange Land. I've read both, of course. But I like The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. So there you have it. Again, story, unsurprising. futuristic. Although in this case, it's not super far into it.
Right.
It's not like most Speedo, where it's like 2080 or some shit like that. Anyway, again, part of history. You can pick it up from Discotech. It's not too long or anything. I honestly don't even really know what this one looks like, because for a long time it wasn't really easy to get.
Yeah, me neither.
And there just wasn't a whole lot of information beyond it being generally considered to be the first OVA.
Right.
Now that it's pretty common to commonly available, you can probably find a bunch of image galleries and stuff of it.
Yeah.
But again, the only thing I've ever remembered is this terrible North American art. It's not even terrible so much as it's inappropriate looking. It doesn't look very anime-ish. It almost looks like it just reminds you of those what do you call them? Those sort of paperback sci-fi novels.
Yeah. Thinking that.
Sort of say, hey, do you like Buck Rogers? Anyway, any other 83 before we go on, or is that?
Yes, Daikon 4.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sorry about that. Yeah.
So 2 years after taking over, Daikon,
taking it over. It makes it sound like they pulled a military coup.
Well, it's like I don't remember how that process went. But they decided, hey, we're gonna hold this science fiction convention. I believe it was in Osaka, which is why it was called Daikon. So 2 years after that, 2 years after Daikon 3, they took over Daikon 4 and once again made an opening animation. And this one was a whole lot better. They had larger staff. They had a dedicated studio, quote unquote, which is really like it was like a textile mill that they just locked up overnight and worked in there. Had proper equipment and all that.
Yeah.
And ended up being a much better production. Similar to the first one, it's kind of like a weird love letter to everything, like all the cool shit these guys were into.
Yeah. Also, copyright.
Oh yeah, like if you mention Daikon 4, lawyers' hair stands on end because this thing would be a copyright nightmare to try and get over here.
Yeah, I mean, but it is sort of
everything Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
If you look at some of the animation cuts in Daikon 4, you'll definitely see where some of the shots and stuff like Evangelion originated from.
Oh yeah.
Before we move on, one thing that always, it's like a detail that people miss, but it's like actually something I notice. If you look at like the ground in the one part, it's like the hexagonal, like in
a hexagonal grid, like in BattleTech.
Yeah, like in the old tabletop type of games. Yeah.
I guarantee you that was some level of deliberate.
Oh, of course. All right.
So moving on to the end here, as we kind of start to slowly crawl to the tip of the iceberg here.
1984.
Yeah. Also, I have the
also a George Orwell novel.
Hey.
So, okay, I've got a few things here. First off, I'm gonna throw out the obvious one. Fist of the North Star.
Yes.
Very, very infamous across the board because it's one of those titles that gets brought up a lot when people say, why isn't anime still like that? And of course we point out it's because it's over 100 episodes long. That's why no animes like that these days.
Yeah.
Anyway,
influence on the shonen genre.
Oh yeah. In fact, it originated from Weekly Shonen Jump, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, yeah, it ran for 109 episodes. It is currently owned by Discotech.
Yes.
Again, you're going to hear that name a lot on these older shows.
Yeah.
If you know, and it also is one of those shows that actually ended up on television here.
Yep.
On Showtime, actually.
I did some of that. Unfortunately, they decided to change the opening and do you know like how you hate the opening for like Rock the Dragon.
Yes.
It's like that, but worse.
Yeah. Well,
generic rock.
And this is another one of those IPs that basically they've tried to reboot and kind of play with again.
Yeah, just recently too.
Which from what I hear was really bad.
Yeah. I told you I saw an episode of that. That was.
Now, I never watched all of this. This is one of those ones where I kind of stuck with the film.
Me too. I've seen a little of the series, but the movie is we'll talk about that later.
Right. So anyway, it's one of those ones that it's pretty violent. In general.
Also, the apocalypse happens.
Right. The visuals are. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it. It's not even Conan the Barbarian-esque.
Mad Max.
Yeah, it's a little more like that. Yeah, exactly.
It's Mad Max and Bruce Lee. That's all you need.
Okay, yeah, I can work with that.
It's pretty accurate.
Yep. Again, the movie, I've always liked the series. I have only seen episodes here and there. Because it used to be owned by Manga Entertainment at one point, but yeah, I mean, I never had it at that time, nor could I even find it.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, that intro.
Again, one of those titles that gets brought up a lot by people who currently hate all this moe crap, as they call it. Your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we got God Mazinger.
Yeah, that's another. It's kind of like even though it's Mazinger, it's a kind of Mazinger name only thing.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but Go Nagai didn't have a whole lot to do with the anime version of this.
Also, I will say this: probably one of the worst anime openings ever. It's just this really boring song with like the same image, and it has nothing to do with it doesn't really have anything to do with the rest. And it's like you would think for like a Go Nagai or a robot thing. We'll just say robot thing. It would be something exciting, something to draw you in to the show.
Nah, it is pretty just kind of there.
Yeah, and it's like this bland song that's like, if it was like a shoujo romance or something, then it would be fine. But it doesn't fit for this, so I don't know what.
And again, Go Nagai did not have seemingly much in the way of input on the anime version of this. And the manga is where it comes from, which he wrote. And I believe he even illustrated some stuff. But yeah, I mean, the actual anime version of it, I don't think he had a whole lot of input in it at all. I mean, it doesn't look like he wrote the anime version or directed it or did anything, really.
Well, really, Go Nagai will sort of resurrect himself. Or at least
yeah.
OVA market.
Right, and soon enough, but not now.
No.
So now, as far as Mazinger goes, this is not. I would either go with some of the movies or Great Mazinger if you're going to do it. I mean, of older stuff. The newer stuff, there's some cool stuff out there, but of the kind of from this and back, I would go with those. But okay. It's important to mention because it's part of that franchise. I think so. There you go. We also have. Oh boy! Hold on to your shitter.
Here we go.
Here's heavy metal L-Gaim.
Three word naming scheme. It works.
And
this is a Tamino one after Dunbine, but before Zeta.
Also, another name that will come into play. You want to say it? You want to say it, or should I say it? Mamoru Nagano.
Yes.
Yes, the wacky designer.
Also, kind of notorious for being the artist that's like only I can do my own art type of.
He's one of those people that demands a certain level of perfectionism.
Listen.
Excuse me. And but at the same time, he is, put it this way, most of the time when we think of people that are that perfectionist or that sort of austere or whatever you want to call it, we think of people just, they're blowhards, but not this guy. No. He actually does know what he's doing.
Yeah, he does. He knows what he's doing. He puts in work, and his stuff is good.
So he's one of those guys that's just like, I live in my own kind of world. And again, that's not a negative thing in his case.
Yeah.
That's a show that I would definitely buy if someone licensed rescued it.
Yeah, it's 54 episodes. It's classic Tamino. It's got a fantastic opening, both song and sequence. The sequence is just comical. It's so 80s.
Oh, I love.
Like parts of it look like straight out of a Sega game. With the whole like fucking Tron like stuff going on or whatever. It's great. It's so 80s you could catch HIV from it.
That's terrible. Also great design work.
Excellent.
Yeah, across the board it just looks nice. Again, that's Mamoru Nagano, who's one of my favorite designers in general. I'll say.
Yeah, also popularized mecha having an eternal skeleton.
Right. Put it this way, I mean, there's been some pretty intricate mecha out there, but this guy's on a whole nother level.
Yeah, because before that, here's the thing. Before that, mecha were more thought to be more designed like an airplane or a car, where it's like you all have
parts.
It's like, and just the parts fit in it. But
like some sort of really advanced erector set type of deal.
But the heavy metals, which is what they're called in L-Gaim, they're thought like it's a skeleton, and then you put the armor on top.
I want it to be licensed rescue just so I can look at a version of it that actually looks worth a shit. Because some of it looks just like crap.
Yeah,
and it's just because it's not properly, it looks fine. It's just most of the versions of it are bad, like Hong Kong rips or some shit like that. So yeah, and again, a little later there'll be some OVAs. Maybe we'll come back to that in a further episode. But
yeah.
Again, well worth looking at. It's very nice from a design perspective. It's what Tamino was up to at the time, and we also get
not as dark as other stuff too.
No, not really. But we also get again Mamoru Nagano. We get to really see some of his stuff. Well worth. If you like, again, you'll notice there's just a lot of robot stuff at this point. I mean, it's
yes.
I mean, almost everything we've been talking about is sci-fi or robots or something. Again, and this is going to continue for a few years.
Oh yeah.
I got another one here.
Mm-hmm.
Hit it up.
Panzer World Galleon.
There we
name. It's the 3 naming scheme. Let's go.
So this was was it Sunrise? I think it was Sunrise.
We should point out that this one was also directed by Ryosuke Takahashi, the same person behind Votoms.
Yes.
Yes. Similar to Dunbine, where it's like a medieval world.
Mm-hmm. And this one ran for 25 episodes. I don't think anybody has this one either.
No, but it has a nice design. What I actually like is the side mecha, the one that I've told you this before. There's like Centaur mecha in it.
Yeah, which is kind of comical, but
yeah.
Well, they tried everything imaginable with this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Especially in this time period. Like it's like, hey, maybe we could stick them in medieval times or fucking in Africa somewhere.
I actually really unironically like Centaur Mecha. Like this isn't the first time I've seen one. So I actually really like that concept.
It's still well, let's just say it's executed better than fucking Baku's would be years later.
Well, sometimes you gotta have welfare zoids.
Any other TV series?
Yeah, Super Dimension Cavalry Southern Cross.
Yeah, okay, get out your notepad because we're about to dive in again.
To Robotech shit.
You know how you said you couldn't get into Orcus?
Yeah.
You just that's the way I felt about Southern Cross. Is I kind of gave up after a couple episodes of that.
This one only ran for 23 episodes. As far as I know, nobody has it here. Again, no surprise given that it's all connected with fucking Robotech.
Well, what's amusing is like unlike Macross and to some extent unlike Mosquito, nobody really cares about Southern Cross.
Right. I thought I just mentioned it because the way it ties in.
That's the thing. That's the show's legacy. Is that that's the only thing people know for? Is,
what a terrible legacy to have.
It is.
Like,
we're the
show that was connected to.
Yeah, we're the part of Robotech. We're the part of Robotech. That's bad enough. That nobody cares about. That's worse.
Mm-hmm. Again, that's the only reason I mentioned it at all. And anything else, or do you want to move to the movies?
Yeah, I actually got one more mega series.
Okay.
So let me find the full name because since these things all have.
It better be three. It better be 3 words. That's all I'm saying. It's the 3-word naming scheme.
Is it even listed on here? I know it came out in 1984. Well, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just type it.
Okay.
Here we are. Yeah, Star Musketeer Bismarck.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 words.
All right. So the show, from 1984 to 1985, totaling 51 episodes. Kind of a space western aesthetic. It's a show that I do want to see now that's been fully subbed. Someone fully subbed it, so it's a show. Interestingly enough, the people that brought Voltron over, World Event Productions, brought over Bismarck in 1987 as what did they call it in the US?
That I can't tell you.
Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs.
That is a stupid fucking name.
That's much more unwieldy than the 3-word.
Yeah, and the other thing is that it's like I knew about Voltron.
Which we should point out actually came to the United States at this point.
Right.
Yeah. I think it was probably because there was merchandising already of Voltron. This didn't have any of that stuff come out.
Okay. Anything noteworthy you want to say about it, or you were just kind of pointing it out?
Just pointing it out. It is something I do want to check out. Like I said, it kind of has an interesting aesthetic that I think I might like. Okay,
so for films, I've got Urusei Yatsura 2, Beautiful Dreamer, which you can get this one.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone says that movie is really good. I'd never seen it.
It's really good.
It is.
You should see it. It's really good.
And you can get this one. I believe Discotheque has it, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it's... Actually, I'm not sure.
Somebody has it. I know they do.
I can check, and I can know this because I have it. Give me a second.
This one is directed, and the screenplay was written by Mamoru Oshii. Fortunately, it's not one of his uber weird excursions, which we'll get to some of those a little later. And it ran for about 98 minutes.
Yeah, so this is put out by Discotheque.
Okay, I thought so. I knew it came out from one of those. Again, it is more experimental than some stuff, but and it has some of the weirder elements, but not the full crazy things he's normally known for.
Yeah.
I mean, it does have things like sort of looping and dreams and all this other kind of stuff, sort of almost surrealist kind of thing. But none of it, like I said, gets like anywhere near Angel's Egg or something like that. So it's worth checking out. The other one I was gonna point out is Nausicaa.
Yes, which I actually saw over the last week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So you get a fresh perspective,
right? And obviously, this is kind of a big deal because Hayao Miyazaki was part of it.
Yeah,
directed, and the screenplay is written by him.
If I'm not mistaken, this is his directorial debut, like the first film he directed independently.
I don't know. I have to check to be sure. That's one of those things I'm surprised I didn't make a note of. It's generally well received across the board by almost everybody.
It's a very good film.
Oh yeah. Made a decent amount of money. Costed a lot of money to make too. 108 million yen. So not exactly the. Anyway, obviously.
Okay, no, it's his first independent work. Not
okay.
The first film he directed was Castle of Cagliostro, but this is his first independent work.
Mm. Right, and you can get this one if I'm not mistaken.
It would surprise me if this was completely unavailable.
Yeah, I think doesn't most Miyazaki works technically fall under Disney?
I think so.
I don't. They technically have most of them, if not all of them.
They used to. Disney
yes, because they had a couple of years back. I remember. I think it was like at Best Buy or somewhere. They had like a Miyazaki week thing or something where it was just all his stuff, and it was all like in one thing, like Princess Mononoke, all that. In like a, how they'll have those like cardboard kind of stands,
right?
That showing off all that. It's very good. As far as Miyazaki movies go, it's one of the ones I like more.
Yeah, it's actually one of the ones that if I bought a Miyazaki movie, it would be one of the ones I would own.
Yeah, it's always been one of the ones I've had a preference for.
Another kind of apocalypse, well, actually a post-apocalypse scenario.
Yeah.
The first time I saw it was in art school.
Hey.
But Disney did do an English dub for this one, if I'm not mistaken.
So, who wants to go next?
I got another one, and it's a big one.
Okay, you go, and then I got one. All right.
Macross, do you remember Love?
Yes.
Yep.
Probably
the biggest of the year. That's saying something because there's a lot.
Yeah, there's quite a bit going on with that. Yeah. Anybody besides me want to talk for a minute?
So, do you remember Love is
no.
It's basically a reinterpretation. It took me to get that. It's basically a reinterpretation of the events of the first Macross series.
Yeah, it's very well kind of it's renowned and very well liked.
Yeah.
Also gorgeously.
Oh, it's visually a nice, is just a marvel. Yeah. It's one of those. It helps being a movie.
Yeah.
Also, yeah. You know that thing I talk about in Anubis, doing mecha by hand.
Yeah. With
meticulous detail.
Yeah.
Like, see, you could do it this way.
Listen, I'm on board with you. It's a bit unrealistic in the modern sense, but don't get me wrong, VZ. I'm on board with you as far as Macross goes.
All right.
This just purely looks pretty.
Yeah, it's eye candy. It really is. But yeah, like you said, it's it's a reinterpretation.
Some events go in vastly different ways than they did in the series.
And again, this isn't the first type of thing that does this.
Yeah, and even some of the design decisions are basically completely different from how the series goes. Like as a more minor thing, in the TV series, the SDF-1, the big battleship, attaches like an assault landing ship and an aircraft carrier to itself as its arms. But in Do You Remember Love, it actually has two dedicated ships that are more integrated. Like they didn't graft on two surface ships for its arms. They actually have two spaceships that are meant to act as its arms. So you get little design differences like that.
It's weird that all the merchant like because Macross is still one of those things that gets merchandised.
Yeah.
But anytime they do an SDF-1 merch, like anything of the SDF-1, it's always for the movie. It's never the TV series.
Probably because it's easier to manufacture. You just take, because like Armed 1 and Armed 2 are basically the same kind of ship, maybe mirrored. Whereas if you're trying to do the Prometheus and the Daedalus, those are two entirely different ship designs that you'd have to do one and then the other.
That the movie design is liked more.
That too. Because it just generally speaking, the movie is like people are more pumped for the movie than they are for the TV series.
Well, they still release things for the TV. I mean, listen, last week they just put up a high metal, which is a high metal R, which is a Bandai subline figure. They've been doing transformable Valkyries. This one's
the only Valkyrie that's worth it.
The VF1D from the early episodes sold out.
Of course it did.
It went out pre-order overnight. Order stop on all the sites that it's like, of course. Yeah. Being a Macross suffering.
It has been for some time, at least in the United States.
You're assailed on all sides. On one side by Harmony Gold, on another side by the fact that you can't even get the anime you want over here. On another side by the fact that you can't get toys, purely one because of Harmony Gold, and two because you can't get toys because they're all sold out.
It really is one of those franchises where there's just a lot of weird maneuvering you have to do. More so than you should for anything, really.
Why don't you think I don't own any Macross figures? Well, Macross action figures of the mecha.
Yeah, it's like Gundam, it's easy to get what you want.
Macross, and it's only gotten easier. Macross, it's hard, and it's only gotten harder.
All right, so I got another movie I want to bring up.
Do it.
All
right. Lensman, Secret of the Lens. All right. This is very, very. I don't want to say adapted, more like concepts and names taken from the book, from its novel. I think it was written in the 30s. For all intents and purposes, this is pretty much just, if you ever wanted to see what Star Wars would look like as an anime, this is pretty much it. Very high production value, like very fluid animation and detail. I like it. It's a little campy, probably because of the source material, but it has a charm. What is it? I don't know if there were any in between, but I think it might have been the second anime to have CG. And unlike Go-Go 13, where it just was like out of place and like only as like a tech demo, it actually fairly integrated well with the part that they used it for in the movie. And because of that, they had to animate the character in 24 frames per second. When that computer part happened, so it was like super fluid animation in that one part. I recommend it, but again, you have to have the right mind of knowing what you're getting into
Right.
with it. And that's it for movies for me.
Now, OVAs, we're going to be entering some interesting territory here. We're just gonna go straight into it. Okay. One of the OVAs.
Yeah.
Oh boy. The first hentai OVA. Lolita Anime.
Released by the company.
The wonderfully titled studio Wonder Kids. Everything about that is they did that on purpose, right? Like, they didn't have that studio name before they thought of the show, did they? Was it one of those things where they just had this title and thought, hey, let's name our studio something in reference to that?
Probably.
I don't know. Oh, well, maybe not, because, well, never mind. I read something wrong here. Anyway, there were 6 episodes, or OVAs, that came from this, but only 4 of them in this year.
Right.
I'm going to read what it says about this here. The more sensitive amongst you might want to... Yeah. Okay. Episodes. The first one is a split of 2 15 segments called The Reddening Snow and Girls Tortured with Roses. Here's what it says. Oh boy, I'm going to feel dirty after this one. A single volume containing 2 15 segments. The first episode depicts a group of boys who sexually assault a schoolgirl. I like how that's just the description. There's like, just bluntly.
Yeah.
The second episode depicts bondage with older men abusing and sexually assaulting young girls. I'm just reading these off of the Wikipedia, by the way.
Very clinical.
Yeah. Should I continue, or do you want to discuss that?
Well, I don't think there's much to discuss.
Okay.
Oh no, I'll actually say the first 2 episodes of these are drawn in a more realistic character design style.
Everything about that statement bothers me. Should I also mention that no, you can't get these ones?
They're probably going to be pretty hard to find legally in the U.S.
Just throwing that out there. Okay, the second one, also same deal. Itsuko Can Die Happy and Altar of Sacrifice.
Oh, geez.
Okay, yeah, okay. I need to point something out. Even though it wouldn't be for 2 years, Altar of Sacrifice is a Slayer song. And possibly... No, I was going to joke and say, well, maybe it's inspired by... No, it isn't. Anyway, here we go. Releases a single volume which contains 2 15 segments. Getting a pattern here? The third episode depicts a girl who is about to be raped, but is saved by another man. He takes the girl home, and she has sex with him as a reward. Yeah.
Continue.
Fourth episode focuses on a lesbian sex. A lesbian sex.
One single lesbian sex.
Who wrote that?
Yes.
And would form its own sub-series. There you go. Okay. Number 3, House of Kittens. Miyu becomes an artist model and is drugged and raped after attending a post-session dinner. Mentos, the fresh maker.
They just weren't fucking playing around with.
Seriously,
this is like, okay, well, we're gonna make history. It's gonna be the first hentai OVA. What are we gonna do?
There's like
a bunch of rape.
Yeah, like
let's set the
rape
stage.
Yeah. Okay, number 4. Variation. Sounds sensual. Running for 30 minutes and focusing on Yuri lesbian sex. This episode involves girls sexually experimenting on each other after witnessing their teacher having sex. Oh, so something that sounds somewhat normal for porn.
Finally, we're out of the rape zone.
Seriously, what the fuck?
I will say that I learned about this series from the erotic anime, the guide to erotic anime.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because that's actually one of the oh, okay, my bad. I misread that. Oh, you gotta love the categories here. 1984 anime OVAs, hentai anime and manga, rape and fiction.
There we go.
Yeah. But of the 6, those are the only 4 that were released. this year. Next year, 85, we may cover more, but
We may cover more.
may.
I don't know.
Cover.
I feel like you get the idea.
Read the reception and legacy.
Oh, yeah, okay. Lolita anime mostly received negative reception, you think?
Really?
With
I would never accepted.
With the anime encyclopedia entry on the work describing it as, quote, disturbing, unquote, for its contents.
Yeah.
Which include gang rape and bondage of fictional underage girls. It is also known as the first erotic anime video release. It also featured the reoccurring character Miyu, whose popularity prefigured that of Cream Lemon's Ami. And speaking of Cream Lemon, that's where we're going next. And this one is mercifully not so rapey.
Yeah.
I said not so. I didn't say it was completely absent.
No, but also explores whole gamut of genres.
Oh yeah, this one is, quite frankly, I would rather think of this as the first franchise of it, just simply because it's a little bit more what you expect out of porn.
It has a much wider appeal.
Yeah, it does. And just like that, it had a few. This one had 3 OVAs that came out that year. There would be more over time. These ones were Be My Baby, Escalation, and the very amusingly named Super Dimension SF Legend Raw. Gee, I wonder what that third one was in reference to.
Yeah, this is
it's not keeping with the 3 names.
This is where you see the first parody of anime. Believe it or not.
Yeah. I was actually going to point that out. And it won't be the last, even amongst this franchise.
Oh, certainly not.
Now, I'm someone who thinks, quite frankly, I really hope somebody actually does get the Cream Lemon stuff at some point.
And considering how things are going on with, like, kind of the stuff. But at the same time, other things are kind of opening up with, like, what Faku's been doing and all that.
I was about to say, Faku might do it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see somebody doing it that just, this one has historical precedence, though, unlike a lot of other ones. Not only because of when it came out, and let's be realistic. This ran for 16 OVAs. And it has a bunch of side offshoots, too.
Yep.
How many can you say did that? Not many. Anyway, this also is just sort of a collection of talent, including a lot of people using pseudonyms and shit.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe Satoshi Arushihara did some work on some of these.
It was one of the later ones.
Right, but he is there. I'll point that out a little later if we go over it. They don't have like they don't have a lot of descriptions here over this.
Oh, I will say I've watched all of these.
Mm-hmm.
I've
seen a bunch of them too.
Yeah, the only one I haven't seen was they made a movie from 1986 that was billing with something else, which I'm not going to bring up right now.
Okay. Well, in any case, there's some interesting other things related to this as well, which is Project Echo.
Yep.
And I believe Dream Hunter Rem at some point as well.
I think so, but don't quote me on that. I know Project Echo for a fact.
Yes. That actually started off as one of these, I think, didn't it?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a Cream Lemon thing.
Yeah,
but then they decided to make it its own thing.
Right. And again, that's such a very Japanese thing, because you'll see stuff like that occasionally where something was originally going to be porn or something and then it's not, or it wasn't and then it is.
That's how we think we got Divergence Eve.
Yeah, I mean, that while we're kind of joking, we're also kind of not.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. There's no part of me that would be surprised if Divergence Eve was that.
Like those character designs were originally supposed to be for some smut or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So there was another totally unrelated but still called Lolita anime series.
Mm-hmm.
Right, different studio.
I should point out that there actually is an official site for Cream Lemon. I don't know if it still works or not, though. It's basically creamlemon.jp. I clicked on it, and it doesn't appear to actually be loading. Maybe it's just taking a while or whatnot, but...
All right.
In any case, it's... It, along with Lolita Anime, is pretty much the first foray into hentai, and yes, we are going to cover that. It wouldn't be complete if we didn't. And quite frankly, it ties in with a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
Again, like Project A-ko. I also remember, and I can't remember where this originates from, but some of the designs for Hellsing were actually meant to be porn originally. Like the Father Anderson, the crazy Catholic priest. It was originally supposed to be a design in a porn. Which is kind of weird when you think about that and say that out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's apparently true. Again, as for other OVAs, anybody want to add?
I'm all set. VZ, are you all set?
Anyone ever seen Birth?
No, fortunately.
I think
Okay.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's an OVA. It says OVA and film, so it's probably released as both.
Mm-hmm.
That's one I like.
Is that one a hentai? No, I'm kidding.
It's kind of I know it sounds like
yeah, its sequel is called Canal.
That's one that has very nice animation. That was kind of what the people of Gurren Lagann were trying to go for.
Huh.
That particular style. There's a bunch of these super deformed. There's these mecha that look like super deformed Zakus in it. I recommend it more as an animation, like just to see nice animation story. These are showing off nice animation.
Well, we should point out that this is going to conclude basically our coverage this time.
Yeah.
Of the 80s. And also, we're not going to do another one of these at least until next year, even if we do a couple other episodes. This is sort of just kind of the halfway point of this whole series.
Yeah.
We've got plenty more to cover. We've got the rest of the 80s, which is going to be just as in-depth, if not more. And then from then on out, just so everybody knows, the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s, we actually have some guest slots for those.
Yes.
We won't reveal who they are yet, just in case they have to bail. That's the realistic answer.
Yeah.
But they're pretty solid guarantees, I would say. So I don't know if the format will change a little differently with those. I'm not sure exactly yet. We'll have to chat with them and see what they want to do with that.
Oh, if you meaning splitting them up in.
Yeah, again, just sort of because if they
each decade,
if they haven't been kind of keeping up with this, which I don't know if they have or not, that's wasn't really a prerequisite of them coming on. But in any case,
we'll adapt if there's any
kind of changes. I do think and they'll probably have things to add too. Again, I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag on who they are. At least one of them is very well known.
So to wrap it off, how would you summarize this half?
You're starting to see a lot more chances being taken in terms of and that's probably because of the disposable income coming from all sorts of other stuff. I mean, electronics and cars were just massive at this point.
Right.
Japan was just kicking everybody's ass. I mean, to the point where even media over here was sort of pointing that out. Needless to say, Back to the Future, anyone?
Like this is like the era where people thought Japan was going to take over the world.
Yeah, and that was a legit viewpoint too. I mean, it was a legit viewpoint in the sense that people really thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Anyway, I believe that's the show.
I believe so as well.
So let me tell you that the email address is ntrradio@gmail.com. The website is ntrradio.net. You can check out our shirts at yashk.moe/store. The shirts are there. You can get I do need to get one of these hoodies because it's fucking cold up here. VZ has a book. It's called The Big Book of Idols. It's an Idol Master art book. You can find it at thebigbookofIdols.com.
Yeah. Yes.
You can find my stuff at yashk.moe. You can find VZ stuff at vzmk2moemekagata.wordpress.com. We have mail. So what we're going to do is not end the show and hit up this email.
Okay.
This one's coming from JohnGirl94, and she writes, "Hello, NTR Radio. This question isn't really about anime, but about media tropes in general. What do you think of shipping and the notion that two people on screen, whether they are the opposite sex or even the same sex, who are really close to each other or even hate each other, must be in love with each other and have to have a relationship together? Why can't two people on screen just be friends or have a genuine rivalry without there being any romantic or sexual connotation? Not saying that shipping is bad per se. I just wonder why that happens and what your thoughts are. Thank you for your time."
Okay. I don't have a really great answer to that, but I do have an answer. And that is, if there are two characters on screen, people will ship them.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what their personalities, if they work, if it makes no sense, if it does make sense. It's one of those things like, if they're even slightly appealing, there will be porn of it.
Yeah. It was like, you got attractive character design. It's
there's
going to be porn. No question about that.
I kind of find the concept of shipping really weird because
I do too. Because when I was,
I get it,
but when I was younger, this wasn't a big thing. It really wasn't. That to me almost is an internet thing, because people just did not talk about characters in that way when I was younger. They just didn't do it. Not because they didn't, I guess, try to pair them up in their head. I just don't think they voiced it.
Well, yeah, because I can, like, I get it. I get that impulse. Because listen, like the whole thing in like Gundam: The Origin episode 3 between Shara and Garma, like there's obviously some tension going there, and it's obviously very, very easy to take that and put that into some sort of homoerotic sexual context. What I don't get is where people just take it and go buck wild with it and like start attacking each other, like actually trying to hurt other people over over their shipping preferences. That I don't get. Because it's sort of like Moe to me, because it's like, okay, what's Moe to VZ might not be Moe to me, but VZ can explain why something's Moe to him, and I can understand why that is, even if I don't share that particular predilection. So what makes sense to me is shipping would be like very similar, where hey, I see these two characters and I have this headcanon where they go well together, and this and this are why, and and like I get that, and I would, and if someone explained that to me about two characters that I don't personally ship together, I can understand why they come to that conclusion. What I don't understand is where that becomes like the Idolmaster love life war that doesn't need to happen. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun, like, weird little thing that fans do, but some people take it way too far. Like, some people take it to the next level that it doesn't need to go to. And I feel like that gives shipping in general a bad rap because remember, this was a while ago we talked about this, that one person who put a needle inside a cookie and tried to get it to some artist who found out too late that there was a needle inside that cookie. That was over shipping preferences.
Wow.
So like shipping gets very real for no reason. And that's the aspect I don't understand about it. But,
yeah,
because like it's like you create your own weird little fan canon where, okay, the Shar and Garma and all that sexual tension between the two of them in episode 3 of Gundam the Origin culminates in them getting together in some weird way. And I guess, okay, cool in the gang. When people try to enforce that upon others is where it crosses a line. Because I can get liking a certain very particular aspect and wanting to extrapolate that. Because a lot of Fujoshi do that. And this is like, shipping was always a real big thing with Fujoshi. Doesn't matter if these two characters are in a yaoi relationship or not. If Fujoshi looks at that and looks at two characters and sees in their head them fucking, then that's going on. But people cross the line with it, and I think that's a problem, like a significant problem, like a bigger problem than a lot of people really catch on to.
I have nothing really to add to that.
So, like, as far as the question why it happens, it's because it's fun. Because it's fun. It's like fan fiction. People get together with their little head cannons and imagine these characters in other fantastical situations that aren't in the source material.
Well, I mean, and sometimes that can be kind of amusing. Like I remember reading it was utterly stupid, but somebody had taken like DBZ characters and put them like in an office, like scenario, like where they're like grunts working in cubicles and shit for these really annoying fucking like overbearing people.
Yeah, exactly. You're reimagining these characters in a different situation. It just happens with the shippers that these characters who aren't fucking are fucking in this situation.
And as an aside from that, it seems like to me, and again, I could be way off base and tell me if I am. Seems to me that a lot of people that do those types of things with the shipping aren't fucking either.
I mean,
just an observation.
I'm not gonna go I'm not gonna step very far over the line like you just did.
Hey, I didn't step over that. I did a cartwheel across it.
I'm not gonna make that judgment. All I'm gonna say is there are some problem people that engage in shipping, and they definitely shouldn't represent the majority, but it is a problem. And
these are the same kind of people that get violent if you disagree with them.
Yeah. And it's a problem that we've yet to address, quite honestly.
Anyway.
Yes,
now
indeed.
That's the show.
Website, ntrradio.net. Email address, ntrradio@gmail.com. Get the shirt at yashigedeo.moe/store. Hit up VZ's book at thebigbookofIdols.com. Find my stuff at yashige.moe. Find the half-naked anime girl figures I sell at shinikiba.moe. Geeky Panda stuff is real good. Find his YouTube channel. Also check out the Bakugaijin Show and Otaku Midnight, because both of those are really good. Hit us up on iTunes. Hit us up on Twitter at DENubis, at VZMK2, at Immortal_KGods, and at NTR_radio. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. In which case,
you could drop us a review or throw us some email if you want.
Hit us a review. Send us an email. We appreciate it.
And we probably will read it as long as we can. As long as we obviously know it isn't like trolling or some dumb shit like that.
Naturally.
And even then, we might still read it if we thought it was funny.
If it's funny, sure.
Or if you're a Russian who completely has confused us with a different show.
Like I said, if it's funny, sure. I'm Tom Forster Nubis.
I'm KGods.
And I'm VZ Mark 2.
And even though we use the 3-word naming scheme every time we say it, this is NTR Radio.